Chapter 388. The middle-aged man did not hesitate and said, "Let's do it tonight, end it quickly." Following the prosperity of Three Spirit City, the first to benefit were the hotels and inns. The large number of foreigners caused the inns to sprout like bamboo shoots after the rain, all of them popping up. Now there were more than 60 inns in Three Spirit City, and this number was still increasing at an alarming rate. He walked to the door wanting to push it open to look outside, but realized that no matter how hard he tried he could not push the door open. Tang Tian's suspicions grew. Where is this? Who are these people? A hurried knocking sound came out, followed by the door being pushed open. A young man with a square head and big ears barged in. I've been waiting for you for half a day. Why haven't you moved? Quickly bring the solution, let's go. The room was decorated lavishly. All the furniture looked expensive and the style was unfamiliar. Tianhua Inn was a relatively old inn. The service and environment were very good. The spirit general turned into a ray of light and disappeared. A straight passageway paved with large rocks like a big square extended far into the distance. Every 10 meters there was a spirit general guarding. Looking at the densely packed spirit generals, one could not see the end. Tang Tian's heart was burning and immediately rushed over. Upon entering the cave, Tang Tian felt his vision blur, and his appearance changed. After consecutively passing through a few spirit generals, Tang Tian was sure these spirit generals were the spirit generals of hand-splitting solution. This time Tang Tian was immediately energized. The solution to the problem made him dizzy, but such a challenge made him eager and full of anticipation. Beside him was a bald man of about 30 years of age emitting a ferocious aura. He grinned. "This should be enough for us. It's so prosperous." The man who spoke was about 40 years of age, standing with his hands behind his back. He had a tall stature, a cold face, deep-set eyes, slender eyes, but when they opened and closed they flickered with light, his entire body emitting a dangerous aura. Every time he defeated a spirit general he would stop, take out the solution and compare it with his own solution. It had to be said that the answers to these questions had been thoroughly tempered and refined. They were far more exquisite than Tang Tian's cracking methods. Tang Tian rejoiced in his heart. Someone finally praised me for being smart. Just based on these words, this dream was worth it. In the dim tunnel, among the densely packed spirit generals, a lonely figure slowly advanced. You must cultivate well in the Thousand Souls Cave this time. You're so smart you'll definitely master the Thousand Cleave Demonic Hand. The youth in front of him said confidently. A Thousand Cleave Demonic Hand. This name sounds a little familiar. Tang Tian was secretly startled. The auras of these two martial artists were very strong, filled with a biting cold aura. Tang Tian regained consciousness. He could still remember the indigo mirror sea burning with endless blue flames, swallowing him whole. How strange, how could the sea be burning? Where did that blue flame come from? When it came to learning new martial arts, Tang Tian had always been extremely focused. Suddenly a scolding sound came from above. Tang Tian noticed that there was a thick book on the table. He walked over and flipped it open. It was a book called The Solution to Tearing Puzzles. The techniques of the spirit generals were getting more and more exquisite. Many of the techniques made Tang Tian feel that it was inconceivable and an eye-opener. He had to rack his brains and focus 120% to compete with the spirit generals. Disassembling was a method that Tang Tian was unfamiliar with. He had never thought that a move could be dismantled like unlocking a lock. It was an eye-opener, but it was also a fresh experience. It was fine if the godlike young man did not come. If he did, he would beat all of them down. Furthermore, in this dream he would not feel hungry or tired. Was there a better place than this? He followed into the cave. You're not young anymore. If you continue to waste your time, you'll be a cripple in the future. The old man's anger had not subsided, but his tone had softened. You're talented and intelligent, but your personality is too lazy, and you're not willing to work hard. That's right, no matter if it's the academy or the family, you don't have to bear any responsibilities. But have you ever thought that if something were to happen with your current strength, other than regret, what else can you do? The two of them sprinted. The young man's light body technique was not bad. The two of them quickly arrived at a cave at the back of the mountain. There were two martial artists guarding the cave entrance. Tang Tian, who was in battle, did not have the time to admire the exquisite techniques. His entire mind was focused on finding the flaws in the opponent's techniques. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. He knew how strong he was. According to his strength just now, the door should have flown out, but it did not budge at all. Tang Tian suddenly felt warm. He thought back to when he was in Andrew Academy. He and Housefly Cow would often cheer each other up like this. The young man turned and ran out the door. Tang Tian was stunned to realize that his body could not help but copy the solution and run after the young man. On the 11th floor of Tianhua Hotel, the two of them stood by the window and gazed at the majestic bronze base. Bang! Tang Tian gasped. The Spirit General's attack just now was the first question in the hand-splitting solution. Tang Tian's heart skipped a beat. Without saying a word, he closed in on the second Spirit General. Bang bang bang. After running around for half a day, he was bored. He sat down and started to flip through the hand-splitting solution. Wait a minute, isn't this the unique spirit card? He glanced at the page. Indeed, it was written question 91. When he flipped to the end, he could not help but gasp. 1024 questions. The two martial artists recognized them. They waved their hands and signaled for them to enter. 10,000 spirits, don't tell me there are 1,000 spirit generals. His speed of advancement was not fast. Although the solution told him the answer, he did not follow the answers in the book. Instead, he tried to defeat these spirit generals by himself. Suddenly, he remembered what the old man said. His heart skipped a beat. The old man said that he could not even solve 100 questions. Could it be that he was referring to this? He often had a stroke of genius that he himself did not realize. The excited Tang Tian did not hesitate to move forward. I've investigated thoroughly. The bald man said, there are no powerful experts. Just a few old fellows who are at the bottom of the Heaven's Road list. Then there are a bunch of child soldiers. Furthermore, they are mechanical martial artists. What can they do? This time we finally caught a fat sheep. Needless to say, people were forced to be like this. He finally understood that this dream was for him to learn the 1,000-cleave demonic hand. After searching around, he realized that other than the hand-splitting solution, he could not move anything else. No matter how stupid Tang Tian was, he knew that something was wrong. Could it be an illusion? He used this kind of stupid method to push forward bit by bit. Hey, what's going on? Tang Tian was stunned by the scolding. After a while, he regained his senses. Although he was still confused, he still looked around. If the first time wasn't enough, try twice. If the second time wasn't enough, try 10 times. If the 10th time wasn't enough, try 100 times. Walking to the cave entrance, the young man did not forget to encourage Tang Tian. You do your best. This time you have to get to the 200th stage. I want to do my best too. Tang Tian instinctively leaned to the side. With a hand chop, he struck the spirit general's left rib. This was the first time he had encountered such an interesting dream. With that, the young man waved his hand and entered the cave. But very quickly, Tang Tian realized that he was dizzy and his head was swollen. Tang Tian realized that he could not speak. Such a strange situation. If it was any other person, they would have been scared half to death. But Tang Tian was not nervous at all. Tang Tian was not smart. If he were to learn such complicated and exquisite techniques, Tang Tian would have to spend a lot of time. But Tang Tian chose the most suitable method for him, which was to fight. Tang Tian wanted to speak, but realized that he could not make any sound. Tang Tian opened his eyes in a daze. In his vision was an old man with white hair and beard. His face was full of anger. After a few tens of spirit generals, he quickly realized that this method of dismantling was actually rather interesting. Especially this kind of one-on-one direct confrontation, it suited his taste. Could it be? Tang Tian was originally walking on the path of close combat. Books that explained how to dismantle techniques were extremely helpful to him. He had encountered many similar techniques more than once or twice. But he realized that compared to the techniques that others could dismantle, he was still lacking. Where is this? The middle-aged man asked. Have you found out everything? Above the cave entrance were the 4 words, 10,000 spirits, written with vigorous strokes. 1,000 sparring partners came to his door. His movements were very fast. In one move, the second spirit general turned into a ball of light. Of course, most of them failed. It was normal to be stuck in front of a spirit general for half a day. Every time this happened, his second specialty would be displayed to the fullest, which was to pester. The gaze he used to look at the spirit generals immediately became blazing hot. Tang Tian's mouth was wide open. He was shocked. The scale of this was completely beyond his imagination. After a while he regained his senses and walked towards the first spirit general. When he was 3 meters away from the spirit general's eyes lit up. As though he was awakened from a deep slumber, he threw a punch towards Tang Tian. If these techniques were to appear in a battle, it could possibly turn the tides of the battle. Looking at it, he was immediately attracted by the book. Solution to Dismantling Techniques talked about how to dismantle other people's techniques. Every technique was extremely exquisite. Since he could not get out, then he should properly study this book. Tang Tian calmly allowed himself to follow behind the young lad. He was filled with interest. But what are you? Who was he? The old man left with a face full of disappointment. Strange. Unfortunately, he was still unable to speak. If he wanted to break through, how powerful would he be? Reading was fine, but solving the problem made him feel like he was at a loss. What was worse was that he was completely unable to immerse himself in it. This plaything was actually more suitable for Crane. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. It was very simple. He must be dreaming. You trash, you haven't even solved 100 problems. When will you be able to master the 1,000-cleaved demonic hand? Out of so many disciples, you're the slowest. Don't you feel ashamed? Chapter 389. Pai Pa immediately became embarrassed. I was just imagining things, I don't know if I was right or wrong. Why is there a flame in my body? It's so eager to fight. Sai Lei also frowned. Hey, where did that brat go to? I haven't even seen him for so many days. How can there be such a boss? This base is also his business and he doesn't care about his own business at all. Humph, seems like the money I asked for is too little. This brat does not even feel the pain. Next time I will definitely take more money from this brat's pocket. Tang Chou calmly observed the opponent was a large bandit group and they were definitely not useless people. There were at least 100 of them, the members were all strong and most of them were at the 6th level. Some of them were even stronger and the mechanisms on the walls were unable to move them at all. Under the lead of these experts they were like a hot knife through butter and along the way the mechanisms were all destroyed. Bing was slightly embarrassed as he changed the topic. Introduce your proudest work, it already looks great. Sai Lei's face was full of pride, her heart was blooming with joy, but she pretended to be humble. Ayaya, Sister Pai Pa, comparing me to Lion King Leong, you really think too highly of me. After saying that, the confidence on Pai Pa's face immediately disappeared without a trace, and she became timid again, standing uneasily. Alright, you can try it out. Sai Lei's expression was serious as she joked. Designed for military generals. Bing suddenly became excited and in a flash he appeared in front of Sai Lei. How did you do it? Suddenly, a shrill alarm sounded without any warning. The indigo mirror ocean with Tang Tian's strength he should be able to pass through. Seeing Bing, she immediately bowed. Master Bing. It had been 2 months, why was there still no movement? Blind Cord Old Man had made his move. If only Master was here. Pai Pa said weakly in her heart Tang Tian was still very powerful. Pai Pa thought for a while. In the chaotic era, other than Leong, the other key is Sister Sai Lei's mechanical spirit weapon. This kind of strength was definitely not just at the bottom of the Heavenly Road list. Pieces of crystal clear blue feathers formed a pair of wings, like 6 straight sharp swords, standing upright on its back. Many of the black shadows that had pounced on the outer wall froze, and some of the weaker martial artists were even more bewildered. Oh, it's the chaotic era. Pai Pa shook her head and replied firmly. However, once the indigo mirror sea was opened, it could not be opened from the outside. Furthermore, the barracks also showed that Tang Tian was unharmed, which made Bing feel more at ease. With that, he turned around and entered the new mechanical spirit weapon, and left with a whistling sound. Because the soul is the most important thing. Pai Pa said, mechanical spirit weapons and mechanical weapons are only one word apart, but they are not products of the same era. Mechanical spirit weapons were like treasures, they could become stronger and stronger. It would replace heirlooms because it could be mass-produced. There is very little information on Liang's army, but I guess that his army definitely has a unique fighting method which is related to the martial spirit. Sai Lei was shocked by Bing's excitement, but she quickly became proud. This problem was solved by Pai Pa, she then shouted loudly, Pai Pa, Pai Pa. Yes, because right now, regardless of whether it is the army or the strong martial artists, no one has the absolute advantage and both parties are restraining each other, so it's the chaotic era. After being interrupted, Sai Lei, who was initially interested, lost her patience. Move the things yourself, explore them yourself, I am too lazy to explain. This is your newest mechanical spirit weapon. The last time the Sky Tiger was destroyed too badly, especially its martial spirit, it only had a trace of remnant undulation, so I could only fuse it with the new martial spirit. Bing regained his senses and said to Pai Pa with an apologetic face, I was too engrossed in thinking just now, but I feel that what you said is very logical. How did you think of it? The sounds of fighting came out and he saw a large number of figures pouncing on the outer wall of the base. He almost did not dare believe his ears. First team, our target is the training camp, full speed ahead. Mozu shouted, his face full of excitement. He led the way towards the military warehouse. They had not completed their training, and the mechanical spirit weapons that they used for training were all placed in the military warehouse. Suddenly, a hoarse eru sound came out in the night sky. The dark sky suddenly became a quagmire of sorrow, involuntarily pulling everyone's emotions. What do you mean? Pai Pa's face was blank, although she still looked sickly and weak, but her complexion was much better. Old Man Fei had never stopped his research on her strange illness. Especially now that he had sufficient funds, he had made some progress. Bing revealed a pondering expression, but he had to admit that what Pai Pa said was somewhat logical. Pai Pa's words were neither fast nor slow. She was not overbearing, nor did she compromise, but she was extremely calm and confident. That's right. Sai Lei puffed out his chest, his face proud. This is definitely the strongest mechanical spirit weapon in the world. If you meet Yi Zhaogu again, you must definitely test it out and see if he can break it again. For this mechanical spirit weapon, I have done a lot of experiments and it was all given to Tang Chao's subordinates. Sai Lei said impatiently, it's about the army, military leaders, martial artists and all those things. It makes my head dizzy. Why don't you tell me? I saw it in a book. Pai Pa replied timidly. What you mean is the era of the army starting again? Bing could not help but ask. He did not dare to look down on this skinny little girl. Coming. Pai Pa's voice came out from the room next door, only to see the timid Pai Pa rushing over hurriedly. It was obviously not the first time Sai Lei had summoned her to do odd jobs. Sai Lei was slightly apologetic. She understood the relationship between Bing and Sky Tiger. Tang Chou was already standing in the field. His ugly face was calm. She was still brooding over Sky Tiger being broken. Countless figures followed closely behind the two of them. Some were topless, some were only wearing shorts, but at that moment no one cared. Everyone understood that at a time like this, even a little bit of time was crucial. Bing did not speak nonsense. I'll go take a look. You guys close the door. Bing could not help but praise. You're truly a genius. The middle-aged man suddenly turned and bellowed. Bing did not speak. He was digesting Pai Pa's words. Thank you. Bing shook his head. You've already done your best. My first battle is about to begin. The moment the alarm went off, the huge bronze base had a short period of silence. But following that, the base suddenly flared up. Oh. Pai Pa understood and timidly replied, I might have said it wrong. The mechanical weapons used by military generals were the focus of the army's research for a very long time, but even after the defeat of the army, they still could not do it. I read in the books, after the era of the three great armies for a very long time, the armies and military generals gradually declined. As she spoke, Pai Pa calmed down, her delicate face radiating with confidence. I feel that this has a lot to do with the development of martial techniques. After the three great armies, all sorts of martial techniques and strong martial artists appeared. The development of martial techniques changed with each passing day, breaking through the previous peak, developing even more powerful spirit martial techniques. The individual strength reached an unprecedented height. Yes. Pai Pa nodded. Lion King Lei Ong started to build his own army. Ever since the formation of the Lion King army, they never lost. From then on, everyone once again saw the power of the army, and military generals once again entered people's vision. The army has once again become popular. Bing frowned and muttered to himself, this time his closed-door training time is a little too long. It's okay, just say it. Bing tried his best to make his expression look more harmless and friendly, but he completely forgot about his poker face. It was just a waste of effort. Hey, poker face, she's done talking, why don't you say something? Sai Lei was not afraid of Bing and said impatiently. Katakera? Bing was surprised. Women are indeed vengeful. Bing's eyes suddenly lit up, killing intent flashing past. In the black shadow, the middle-aged man's face changed. His strength was profound. Once he heard the sound, he knew that blind-cord old man's strength was much stronger than what they had imagined. Bing resisted the urge to kick the hindrance out of the door and stared at Pai Pa. Why do you say that? And from the discovery of the era of martial artists until now, there has also been a gradual change. The continuous development of the research of the martial spirit allowed the continuous development of the spirit cards, and the cultivation of martial techniques became easier. Almost everyone knows how to cultivate martial techniques. Martial techniques became more and more popular. The new martial technique system was almost developed to the extreme, and it has been close to 200 years without a true new theory appearing. The strength of the strong martial artists is also getting closer and closer. The advantage of numbers once again entered people's vision. The first person to realize this and put it into practice was Leong. Sai Lei actually did it. Your words have given me a lot of inspiration. Bing muttered. As for whether it is right or wrong, we will know once we try it. Lion King Leong? Bing was surprised. Sai Lei was pleased. It does not only look good, you will know it is even better after you use it. I have studied your fighting style, and in truth, your individual strength is not as outstanding as your military general strength. So, I have changed the direction. This is the first mechanical spirit weapon designed for military generals. Bing gazed at the new mechanical spirit weapon in front of him. The azure blue mechanical spirit weapon looked similar to Sky Tiger, but the lines were sharper, the details were more exquisite. Every joint looked as though it was meticulously forged by an artist. It was extremely gorgeous. Its face was like a tiger, revealing a dignified and austere aura. Under such circumstances, the advantage of numbers is no longer able to withstand the strength of the top martial artists. So Heaven's Road was dominated by the strong martial artists. From then on, Onyx Soul began to show its prowess, and after that the Honorable Martial Alliance became even better. If it was the army era before the three great armies, then after that, it will be the era of martial artists. Ah Ming. Team B. Follow me. Mo Wu Wei's voice was as cold as ever. All the lights in the rooms were switched on at the same time, and it was as bright as day. Sai Lei waved her hands. Come, tell Master Bing about your thoughts that day. Chapter 390. Blind Cord Old Man was the most famous martial artist in the base. He was also the strongest martial artist. Ah Ming was heavily injured, and Blind Cord Old Man's air music had disappeared. He must have been heavily injured as well. In the current bronze base, there was no one who could stop them. The warm voice fell into everyone's ears like a spring breeze. The rich young master laughed out loud. There are times when you can make a mistake. Such a broken base, and there are no experts guarding it. How can it defend against the flowing wind group? What you said is too laughable. A gust of wind blew, and the peach blossoms fell from the tree. Tang Chao's heart gradually calmed down. However, the flame in his heart seemed to have sunk deep into his flesh. The light in his eyes was frighteningly bright. Young Master Magic Flute raised his head, surprised, bone-piercing whistle. And he would appear in Three Spirit City in the name of pursuing the flowing wind group. As he was worried that he did not have enough strength, he specially went to beg his brother. Blind Cord Old Man's face congealed. The whistle was sharp and did not have the slightest sense of music. But its destructive power was astonishing. It was filled with unreasonable ferocity. If not for the fact that he had learned from Magic Flute and had a better understanding of music than before, he would not have been able to defend against the whistle. The middle-aged man cried out in shock. His eyes were about to pop out as he rushed towards Ah Ming. Team A, get ready. The entire place was silent. Everyone was stunned by Magic Flute's unpredictable falling time. Even though he was an advisor-type general, his thirst for battle was not inferior to anyone else's. His face darkened. He squeezed out 4 words from his teeth. Leave no one alive. Magic Flute did not seem to notice. His gentle face was lowered with a tinge of nostalgia. Amidst the beautiful flute music, a wisp of mist floated out of nowhere and landed on the red lotus. The mist was mystical. It had the shape of a graceful lady. The lady twisted her waist, sang and danced. It was refreshing and lively. Just at this moment, a wisp of flute music like the wind drilled into the middle-aged man's ears. If Tang Tian was here, he would definitely recognize that this young man was the rich young master that he had robbed many years ago. His face did not look too good. The flowing wind group that he thought was in the bag was actually obstructed at every turn. The flowing wind group was one of the most notorious bandit groups. Their strength was tyrannical, and they moved unhindered in Heaven's Road. Other than the 12 ecliptic palaces, even Serpent's constellation, one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, was once threatened by them. However, he was still a little proud of his plan. Humph, that's good. The more the flowing wind group loses, the easier it will be for us to get what we want. You can't snatch it from me. Who knew that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? It was only when the pink petals drifted over that everyone came to their senses and prepared to dodge in shock. However, before those peach blossom petals could reach them, they were annihilated in the air. Magic Flute had one precious time for them. Tang Chou was very clear that if his students were to be ambushed, they would collapse very quickly. But now they were given time to catch their breath, to adapt to this sudden battle. Mozu and Mo Wu Wei's body trembled at the same time, and just like usual they roared in unison. The long-robed youth wasn't annoyed. He smiled and said, "I suddenly have a premonition." In the night, the young master was not tainted by a speck of dust and floated away into the night sky. Ming's eyes were bloodshot, his eyes wide open. He gathered all the true power in his body, and the bone whistle in his mouth emitted 3 short notes. "Don't worry. Wait till we catch Magic Flute. You can slowly experience the 127 deaths." A gloomy young man snorted. When the information regarding 3 Spirit City reached the leader of the Flowing Wind Group, he was immediately attracted. He was determined to capture this mechanical grandmaster who could create mechanical spirit weapons. The middle-aged man's body turned sluggish and he suddenly raised his head. Bang bang bang. Magic Flute was a little regretful. The true power in his body was almost depleted. When he raised his head, he still had a warm smile on his face. "I've passed this stage. Everyone please go ahead." When everyone saw the scene, they couldn't help but jump in fright. The younger brother was secretly happy. He was most afraid that his brother would know the value of this base. If that was the case, he would not be able to get his hands on it. Ever since he was robbed, he had been staring at 3 Spirit City. And the more he understood the value of this bronze base. If he could grasp it in his hands, his strength would rapidly expand. "I have a premonition that this operation of the Flowing Wind Group will most likely fail." The long-robed young man laughed. He could not help but scold. "The Flowing Wind Group is a bunch of trash." The peach blossom was dazzling. "Don't worry. Let's just wait and see." The long-robed young man did not argue and smiled. The rich young master did not like his elder brother's actions. But he was still his biological elder brother. Not only was he stronger than him, he was also more loved by his father. The stage was set and the curtains were drawn. What was waiting for was the hero's appearance. "If younger brother can manage this base well, it will be very beneficial for you," the long-robed young man said. On the tallest building in the base, a young master in a white robe stood with his flute in his hands. The glistening yellow flute was like a ray of light in the night sky, dazzling and eye-catching. "Team B, get ready." His entire body's true power surged to the extreme. The wheelchair beneath him turned into dust. But his body was like a cast of steel, not moving an inch. Hugong slowly plucked the strings of the eru. A hoarse and sorrowful sound flowed out from his eru like flowing water. The sound of the flute was indistinct and magnificent, just like in the past. Jing jing jing, blind cord old man's body trembled. The eru in his hands broke. His face was ashen and his body slumped. The mute servant behind him quickly supported him. The left side of Zhang Peng's body was intact, but the right side of his body was withered and lifeless. The long-robed man chuckled. "Why? Can't wait any longer? But speaking of which, you had the patience to wait until today to make your move. You even planned such an operation. I have a whole new level of respect for you." Ghost Whistle. It's Ghost Whistle. They are the Flowing Wind Group. Tang Chou stood in the middle of the group. His mechanical spirit weapon was very inconspicuous. It looked no different from the others. No one would have thought that such an inconspicuous mechanical spirit weapon would actually be the enemy's general. Flowing Wind Group. The middle-aged man's mind floated a name. His face was full of surprise. but very quickly he sneered. A mere spirit general wants to block my flowing wind group? He was like a dancer at the end of the curtain. He bowed and thanked Tang Chou. Wu Feng's right arm had completely disappeared. The terrifying wound was bleeding profusely. Half of his body was soaked in blood. His face was as white as paper. He looked at Magic Flute with hatred. He did not say a word. Almost at the same time, Blind Cord Old Man's wrist shook. A lingering trill was so low that it was almost inaudible. In another corner of Three Spirit City, a few pairs of eyes were watching the battle. Many of the mechanisms were triggered. The light from the explosion pierced through the night. Before he finished his sentence, two black shadows burst out. Like arrows leaving the bow, they pounced towards Magic Flute. The bronze aura was like a brave and silent soldier. There was no sound, but there was a biting cold edge to it. Young Master Magic Flute. The sharp whistle pierced everyone's eardrums. The invisible sound waves spread out at a speed that was hard to catch with the naked eye. Screams filled with fear came one after another. Tang Chou ordered without hesitation. First kill 1,000 floating skies. Second kill 10,000 blades. Third kill slow flute sound. Everyone please listen to the fourth kill falling time. But it was a pity that he had not fully recovered. He had only recovered to the fourth kill. Magic Flute smiled. He caressed the bronze flute. A strand of qi entered the flute hole from his lips. A green light floated out of nowhere. The green light was like a seed that sprouted and grew into a small sapling. The sapling grew bigger and bigger. It was a peach tree. In the blink of an eye, the peach tree was filled with pink peach blossoms. Bang! The bone whistle in Ah Ming's mouth exploded. His face was covered in blood. He fell to the ground. Two completely different voices clashed in the air. So he thought of a plan. He secretly revealed the prosperity of Three Spirit City and the mechanical spirit weapons to the Flowing Wind Group. He knew that the leader of the Flowing Wind Group was ambitious. He had long been drooling over the mechanical army in Yong'an City. But because of Yong'an City Master's status as an Onyx Soul Elder, he did not dare to act recklessly. The middle-aged man's pupils constricted. He blurted out, 127 deaths. The rich young master looked at his elder brother. He said in a cautious tone, I will manage it well. I never thought that I would be able to witness young Master Magic Flute's skills. It was a worthwhile trip. A man dressed in a long robe said, the legendary 127 deaths is a godly skill. Now that I have seen it, I have no more regrets. He nodded his head. He did not speak. He picked up the bone whistle on his neck. He puffed up his cheeks and blew. Every mechanical spirit weapon adjusted their posture. They were like wild beasts waiting to pounce. The middle-aged man flashed. He appeared beside Ah Ming. He touched his body. He felt at ease. Ah Ming was still alive. They were heartless. Their methods were cruel. Massacres were a common occurrence. The Flowing Wind Group had 6 ferocious bandits. Ghost Whistle was one of them. He was ranked number 6. Every mechanical spirit weapon stood in an orderly manner. What premonition? The rich young master asked. Ah Ming was only 18 years old. He was skinny and tanned. His hands and feet were nimble. There was a scar on his face. It made him look more ferocious. Ka-ka-ka. The sounds of the bronze joints rang out. They formed a strong current. But the current suddenly disappeared. Silence returned. Ah Ming. Magic Flute was surprised. He nodded his head. He was full of praise. Time passes quickly. It is formless. To be able to break free from the fourth death. Even when I was young it was rare. I am impressed. One was like a big bird. It was the 5th brother Zhan Peng. The other was like a fog. It was the 4th brother Wu Feng. In their field of vision, black figures were jumping down from the wall. They were rushing towards them like a tide. Their ferocious expressions could be seen clearly. But his identity made it difficult for him to act recklessly. It was not a big deal for him to bully others. But if it caused a fight he would be in trouble. Haha. His elder brother laughed. Don't worry. It is not easy for you to do something serious. I will not drag you down. Chapter 391. Bang bang. If this brat was still alive, how strong would he be? They could not believe their own eyes. The light spears were like rain. The long-robed young man was swift and decisive and left on the spot. The rich young master was shocked. Big brother. Gong Jio was after all an ambitious person. In a moment of shock he immediately felt that something was wrong. Mozu's roar marked the start of the mechanical army's first battle. 30 golden blade auras filled their field of vision. It was a terrifying sight. The martial artists of the Flowing Wind group pounced on the group of mechanical spirit weapons from all directions. All of their faces were filled with ruthlessness and craziness. Army? Mechanical army? The rich young master was stunned, then laughed, pointed to the bronze base and said frivolously, "Big brother, are you talking about those child soldiers?" He had never interfered with Tang Chao's forging of the army, but he did not expect Tang Chou to give him such a big surprise. But the obstacle was finally cleared. Seeing the pretentious child soldiers in front of him, Gong Jio suppressed his killing intent for a long time, suddenly exploded, "Kill!" That ugly, simple tactic, how could it be possible to have such astonishing power? That was the most classic tactic of an army. 30 bronze mechanical spirit weapons landed on the ground at the same time, raising a cloud of dust. The ground trembled. The other martial artists of the Flowing Wind group hesitated for a while, then retreated like the tide. But regardless of Mozu or Mo Wu Wei, they did not know what a real army was, although they were suspicious, but they still chose to obey. Tang Chao's performance made him feel very surprised. Rank 6 martial technique. Ardent Spear. When Tang Chou introduced this tactic, many students questioned it because no one had ever used it before. Everyone thought that the card slot of the mechanical spirit weapon should be used as a support. When the mechanical spirit weapon was inserted into the spirit card, although they could use this martial technique, but regardless of power or proficiency, it could not be compared to the martial techniques that they had trained since young. A martial artist tried his best to dodge, but his head collided with a blade aura, and his entire body was cut in half. Blind Cord Old Man was stronger than he thought. He actually injured Ah Ming. Halfway through, young Master Magic Flute appeared. Although he was already a spirit general, he maintained his strength. 4th and 5th brother were dead and one was injured. Gong Jio was glad that Magic Flute was a spirit general and not a living person. However, they had a lot of battle experience. The martial artists with outstanding Qinggong hurriedly dodged, while those martial artists without outstanding Qinggong simply did not dodge but prepared to block. All kinds of defensive martial skills lit up, while some activated their secret treasures. Rank 6 martial technique. Grand Hand Blade. Tang Chou had extremely strict requirements for this kind of tactic, such as when to use the Tai Chi, when to use the floating finger, how many times to pass in a second, when to jump, how high to jump, and so on. Tang Chou knew that he was not good at controlling aura, so he spent more time on developing tactics and training. Tang Chou had spent a great deal of effort on every tactic. Not every type of spirit card could be gathered to 100, and the quality had to be very close. The elder brother beside him had long stood up. The shock on his face had already disappeared. He said, "Because their enemy is an army, the first true mechanical army." The rich young master was completely dumbfounded. Mozu looked at the results of the battle and was stunned. In front of him there was no one left alive. The current mechanical spirit weapon was still in its infancy. If he could gain the upper hand, he would no longer be a bandit, he would become the true tyrant of the entire Heaven's Road. 30 golden blade auras that were more than 3 m long, with a buzzing sound, they transformed into a blade screen whistling through the air. Mozu suppressed the excitement in his heart. After training here for so long, this was truly their first battle. The mechanical spirit weapon that had changed to a brand new star rock was full of energy. The 3 spirit cards in the card slot lit up with a faint light. They were long prepared. His chest was in pain. A flower of blood blossomed on his chest. He looked down in disbelief. His chest had a fist-sized hole. The martial artists of the Flowing Wind group were not weak. The sound of air breaking could be heard. At this moment he saw a brand new era. Everyone felt that it was extremely weird. The gigantic blade auras were extremely powerful. All the martial artists that were hit by them groaned and their bodies swayed. What was even more inconceivable was that Tang Chou actually intended to use them as his main attack method. In the end, no one could remember exactly how many times they had trained. But Gong Jio was still very angry. The Flowing Wind group had rarely been in such a sorry state for the past few years. The battlefield fell into an eerie silence. "I'm not joking," the long-robed young man said. His expression was solemn. "I have to report this to father immediately." From this aspect, Master Tang Chou had high expectations of their coordination. which made people's hair stand on end. But on the other hand, Master Tang Chou had never requested them to train in these 3 types of martial techniques. He was even willing to waste his time on lecturing them on the history of wars. Twisting their waists, swinging their legs, throwing their arms, the 30/3 tall bronze mechanical weapons all performed such pleasing movements at the same time. That kind of visual impact was simply suffocating. Mozu shouted at the top of his lungs. His voice was slightly distorted. He was too excited. The other students were equally excited, but the first battle formation was the one that they had trained the most and was most familiar with. Yong'an City had formed a mechanical army, but Gong Jiu had personally gone to investigate. In his eyes, the so-called army was just a joke. But the mechanical spirit weapons attracted his interest. After careful observation, he realized if he could have these mechanical spirit weapons, then the Flowing Wind Group's strength would increase by more than 1-fold. The remaining few martial artists of the Flowing Wind Group were pierced with light spears like porcupines. Piu, blood blossomed everywhere. But they were tricked. The rich young master who was watching the battle from afar was completely dumbfounded. He stuttered, Why did they retreat just like that? Gong Jiu was also shocked by the scene just now. The Flowing Wind Group was created by him. He had experienced many difficult battles. He did not know how many. That wave of attack just now was shockingly short, but it caused a sudden chill to rise in his heart. In the face of the overwhelming and unreasonable attacks of the army, the individual strength and techniques that they were so proud of were completely useless. This matter was so serious that they needed to report to father. The scene in his memory was so similar to the scene in front of him. He had always been prepared to take action. He just wanted to see the strength of Tang Chou's army, but he did not expect to see such an exciting battle. The expression on the big brother's face was rarely seen. The smile on the rich young master's face slowly disappeared. Big brother, you are not joking, right? The martial artists who were rushing towards them did not expect to encounter such a fierce attack, especially such a uniform attack. Could it be that these 30 people all trained in the same type of martial technique? In this round of baptism, the martial artists who were still standing were all outstanding defensive martial artists. All of them were glaring angrily. Many of them had blood holes all over their bodies, but their defense was outstanding. Even though they were injured, it was not fatal. The first 3 rows of mechanical spirit weapons uniformly took a step forward. The huge bronze arms suddenly lit up and slashed vertically. And the so-called number 1 tactic was the combination of these 3 martial techniques. No matter what, during this period of time, do not act rashly. The long-robed young man said in a low voice. This matter is beyond what we can handle. Even these 3 types of spirit cards, it took a lot of effort to buy. The long-robed young man turned around and said to the golden-haired martial artist beside the rich young master, Look after the young master. Unknowingly, the 10 mechanical spirit weapons at the back of the group actually leaped into the sky. In every mechanical spirit weapon's hand was a light spear. Suddenly, their pupils constricted at the same time. The first real mechanical army had appeared. The value of this news caused the long-robed young man's heart to surge. The terrifying number of finger auras was a rank 6 martial technique. Floating finger. First team, prepare for the number 1 tactic. Army. Mozu and all the students in the first team were stunned by the tragic battlefield in front of them. The ground was filled with blood and corpses. It was a mess. He had fought countless of times in his life, conquered countless cities and planets, but he had only suffered 2 setbacks in his life, and both were against armies. These 2 times, both times he had experts under him, and the formation was stronger than the current one, but he still lost. Gong Jiu felt extremely sullen today. He initially thought that he would be able to win the battle easily, but he did not expect that his own side would be attacked continuously. Pai Pa's words and Tang Chou's tactic seemed to have opened a window in his mind. One of the martial artists who managed to dodge revealed a look of relief. His Qing Gong was very outstanding, and he managed to dodge between the 2 blade auras by a hair's breadth. Even the whistling airflow caused his cheeks to hurt, which showed how powerful the blade auras were. Bing, who had been observing the battlefield from the start, had a strange look in his eyes. He immediately made a decision, and without hesitation he said, Retreat. Every mechanical spirit weapon in the first team had 3 card slots, each with the same 3 rank 6 spirit cards. Supreme Hand Blade, Floating Finger, and Scorching Ray Spear. Bang! The golden-haired martial artist's scalp went numb. He knew that it was eldest young master's warning. He looked at young master and immediately replied, yes. He looked on blankly. 10 gray finger auras, like agile barracudas, quietly shuttling back and forth between the blade auras, like silent hunters reaping lives. In truth, Tang Chao's research was not without outstanding tactics, but it was impossible to execute, because he could not buy so many similar quality spirit cards. The martial artists who dodged between the gaps of the blade auras completely did not expect to be ambushed. The gray finger auras were hidden and sinister. Adding the small gaps between the blade auras, there was no space to dodge. They trained repeatedly every day. As long as there was a slight mistake, the entire team would have to restart. Privately, the students would discuss, and all felt that Master Tang Chao's tactic was just like his name, extremely ugly without any sense of beauty. Chapter 392. The card slot for the mechanical spirit weapons? Bing asked. Just like the first tactic? If you meet an elite army, you will lose badly. Bing could see the flaw in the tactic. The 3 martial techniques were not trained by themselves, and without a military leader to control them, if they met a real elite army, it would be a crushing defeat. The two of them looked at each other blankly. The news of 3 Spirit City having the most outstanding training camp for mechanical martial artists had spread like wildfire. Many mechanical martial artists came, and the number of people in the training camp had already expanded. But the training camp only provided some basic guidance to these foreign mechanical martial artists, which was far from the Mahist family disciples and the Lupus constellation youths. These people had received basic training and could greatly shorten the training period. There is no problem in terms of manpower. Tang Chou said, the number of mechanical martial artists in the training camp exceeds 1,000 people. We can choose 200 people from them. We can shorten the training period. Tang Chou's expression was calm. Yes, master. Tang Chou seemed to have thought of this problem and said without hesitation, migration. Fornax constellation cannot accommodate so many people, but the neighboring Cetus constellation has a good concentration of energy. It has a concentration of 31%, which is not bad among the 10 equatorial palace halls. Also, Cetus constellation has a starry door that connects to Lupus constellation. As long as we occupy Cetus constellation and open the starry door, we can smoothly complete the migration of the Lupus clan. How long do you need? Bing asked. Tang Chou did not bargain and thought for a moment. Then we will only control the starry door to Cetus constellation, and the other 3 groups will attack Fornax castle. No problem. Sai Lei said generously. As long as the materials can keep up, the mechanical spirit weapons will definitely not be a problem. Bing's poker face revealed a smile. With Sai Lei's support, this matter was almost set in stone. Tang Chou said, Master is wise. We need to use low-level armies to open up a space for us to survive. That way we can have 10 years to develop our high-level fighting strength. That's right. Bing nodded his head. Is there any other place that is more suitable for us? Suddenly, Bing felt ashamed. He was really a country bumpkin. He had never spent a lot of money before. Spending 1 billion already made him nervous. Look at him, opening his mouth and asking for 200 billion. Yes, master. Tang Chou reminded. Lupus constellation is very suitable for this tactic because it has a large population. We can quickly replenish our troops, but it's very difficult for them to do so. There's no need to pay in full, Tang Chou explained. We also need to go through a process to recruit martial artists. The mechanical spirit weapons in the later stages, the training fees etc., were all consumed continuously. In the early stages 20 billion should be enough. Actually 200 billion to earn an equatorial palace hall constellation is already cheap enough. Bing did not know what to say. He stared blankly at Tang Chou. Good. Bing nodded. But Bing instinctively rejected such tactics, because it would consume a large amount of the martial artist's life. Bing had always been an instructor and was extremely concerned about the lives of the soldiers. That's great. Sai Lei was extremely excited. I've always wanted you guys to conquer Fornax constellation. What's the value of those outdated Fornax sets? Only in the hands of Master Sai Lei can the Fornax constellation show its true value. However, the opponent was after all one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, and had to be respected. Bing asked, what are the chances of us winning? Master, we are cannon fodder. Tang Chou said very naturally, moreover it's not that we have no chance of winning as long as we can endure casualties. What a cold-blooded fellow. 40 groups, Bing jumped in shock. A group had 100 people, 40 groups meant 4,000 people. That was definitely a huge number. If they were to attack Cetus constellation, these foreign martial artists would definitely be fearful and unreliable. But if they were to attack Fornax constellation, these martial artists would not have any fear. As if he knew what Bing was thinking, Tang Chou continued, "The mechanical spirit weapons that we are using now are already outdated. The new mechanical spirit weapon, Vanguard, Miss Sai Lei, has already been finalized. The cost is about 30 million star coins per unit. 4,000 of them would cost 120 billion star coins. Every mechanical spirit weapon would require 3 7th level spirit cards. 4 silver grade spirit cards, it would be about 2 million star coins per card. Every mechanical spirit weapon would require 6 million star coins, which would be 24 billion. With our current 200 members as the backbone, the training period can be compressed to 6 months. The training fee for each member would be about 8 million star coins. 4,000 people would be 32 billion. Adding on the resources, 200 billion should be enough for us to start this war." Old Man Fei. Bing thought. But first he found Sai Lei and asked directly, "Sai Lei, what do you think about Fornax constellation?" "In my strategy it is like this." Tang Chou did not hide. With this strategy, the requirements for the martial artists in the army would be greatly reduced, and we can better replenish our soldiers. "Tell me your thoughts." Bing sat in front of Tang Chou like a strict examiner. "In the short term, Master Crane, Master Ling Su, will all become our high-level fighting strength." Tang Chou continued, "But in the long term, we need to formulate and implement a long-term training plan. From the reserve troops onwards, we need to unify the martial techniques that the soldiers train in. This way the fighting strength of our army will increase exponentially. There is one problem." Bing continued. "Lupus constellation's energy concentration is too low, causing their growth to be slow. Using the energy hall for so long would consume too much of our energy." Looking at Tang Chou's back as he left, Bing took a deep breath. There were many things that Tang Chou could not settle. For example, the exchange with the Mo family, the battle of Fornax constellation, the support of the Mo family was indispensable. Sai Lei suddenly thought of something. "If you have time, find some time to go to Old Man Fei's place. He seems to have come up with something powerful. That old man's legs are floating, his face is glowing, and he would run over to see if the boss is here. That old man has no backbone, he only knows how to take credit from the boss." "I need 6 groups." Tang Chou was not surprised, his expression did not change. Fornax constellation has a total of 4 starry doors. Each starry door needs a group to control. The remaining 2 groups will attack Fornax fortress. "Mechanical spirit weapons, we need more mechanical spirit weapons." Bing said. "Yes." Tang Chou's expression was calm. The victory yesterday did not seem to make him excited. His tone was calm. "Your subordinate's initial thought was to create a suitable strategy for your subordinate. Your subordinate's personal strength is very weak, and there is a limit to what I can do on the battlefield. Your subordinate hopes to create a strategy that is less reliant on the military leader." After a while, Bing retracted his gaze. "Very good, Second Lieutenant, your plan is very outstanding, but I can tell you clearly, the cost is beyond what we can afford. So, our target is still Fornax constellation. If we were to attack Fornax constellation, how many people do we need?" "Yes." Tang Chou continued. "Your subordinate then thought, why is the army so reliant on the military leader? After that, I found out that it is because the members of the army train in different types of martial techniques, and their standards are not uniform. Different martial techniques, different attributes of true power. Only a military leader who is outstanding in controlling aura can combine them into one. But with the current situation of the army, we cannot let all the soldiers train in the same martial technique, and mechanical spirit weapons can solve this problem." Tang Chou did not speak and looked straight at Bing. Bing shook his head. "You only have 4 slots." Tang Chou was the most vengeful person, the grudge with Cetus constellation the last time. If there was a chance, why would Tang Chou let it go? Bing was silent. He had to admit, although Tang Chou's strategy was simple and crude, but it had a low requirement and could be mastered quickly. Combined with the human wave strategy, it could definitely unleash an astonishing power. "Yes," Tang Chou said calmly. "The card slot of the mechanical spirit weapon can use 3 types of spirit cards, and with the help of the martial spirit in the mechanical spirit weapon, the mechanical martial artist can be more adept in using them. Although the power will be reduced, It can greatly reduce the number of martial techniques in the army, and we can only design a strategy based on this possibility. Bing's expression relaxed as compared to the human wave strategy. This plan was obviously more to his liking. 200 billion. Bing was completely dumbfounded. Then mechanical martial artists can practically not train in other martial techniques, and only focus on training true power? Bing's poker face was unusually serious. He knew this plaything had the potential to change the world. Human wave strategy? Bing's face changed slightly. Bing nodded. No wonder you have been pushing for the strategy to attack Fornax constellation. You already had this idea. He looked at Tang Chou's calm face. His emotions were complicated. Bing's impression of Tang Chou had completely changed. He realized he had underestimated Tang Chou. He originally thought that a lieutenant-rank staff officer would have a high standard, but who knew Tang Chou had such a calm and rational strategic vision? He asked again, "What do you think about the high level of fighting strength? If there are 40 groups, it should not be a problem." Tang Chou said. After thinking for a while, Bing made a decision. "All right, second lieutenant, you can start preparing now." Cetus constellation. Bing was surprised and laughed out loud. "That is a good opponent." Tang Chou did not have the intention to explain. He said calmly, "This strategy is based on our current situation. If we want to improve, we need Fornax constellation. The mechanical spirit weapon technology, the population of Lupus constellation, and the resources of Fornax constellation. As long as we have these three, the Southern Cross Army will be able to win a place in Heaven's Road." Disregarding the training of 4,000 people just to equip all of them with mechanical spirit weapons, they would need 4,000 sets of mechanical spirit weapons. It was definitely an astronomical number. Sai Lei was stunned, her charming eyes lit up with a shocking light. "You are thinking of using Fornax constellation? When are you guys going to move?" Sai Lei was a little impatient. She asked, "What do you need me to do?" Chapter 393. Suddenly, Angelina sensed something and blurted out, "It's done." Angelina quickly calmed down. She could hear the commotion outside and said, "Let them in." Tadun could not hold it in any longer. He jumped into the pool and fished out a silver battle robe. Her tone was kind, as though she was joking. The elders who were instigated were all terrified. They did not expect that they would be involved in such a huge mess. Lu Xingjia was slightly surprised. He bowed respectfully. "I did not expect General Tadun to recognize a small fry like me. Please forgive me for my rudeness. The three presidents are good friends of General Tadun. My duty is to protect the three presidents. Please forgive me for my rudeness." Wuxia turned around and scolded Lu Xingjia. "Xingjia, quickly apologize to General Tadun. If you can change your reckless temperament, then I'll really be relieved." Angelina turned around and glanced at the group of people. She recognized a few of the presidents of the merchant associations and was shocked. Seeing this scene, she immediately knew that someone was behind this. The person was extremely powerful. He was able to incite almost half of the merchant associations under her. Everyone's jaws dropped. They could not believe that the man in purple was the most powerful man in the Ursa Major constellation, Wuxia. All of the soldiers were waiting for Ta Dun's command to launch their attack. But for a moment Ta Dun's heart was filled with killing intent. If he were to offend such a powerful man, he would become a huge threat to the Andromeda constellation in the future. Lu Xingjia's face changed. "General Ta Dun, my master." When they saw Ta Dun standing beside Angelina, their voices became muffled. Many of them were panicking. They knew that there was no way out. They were well trained. It's just a small misunderstanding." Ta Dun laughed. He was no longer as tense as before. He waved his hand. Mr. Li's blade was indeed powerful. Another fatty also stood up and said, "Count me in." Suddenly, a wave of applause came from the group of elders. A man stood up. He was about 30 years old and was dressed in purple. His face was like jade and his eyes were like the stars. He was a suave and elegant man, giving people a good impression of him. These words appeared in Lu Xingjia's mind. He felt immense pressure. The three presidents beside him were shocked. They did not expect Ta Dun to make a move after knowing Lu Xingjia's identity. Was he not afraid of angering the Ursa Major constellation? The beam of star power gradually faded and soon disappeared along with the star power in the star power pool. Hundreds of silver battle robes lay quietly in the pool. Everyone calmed down a little. One of the guild leaders was about to explain. "We just wanted to," Ta Dun replied coldly. Dignity is above life and death. Ta Dun shook his head. You must have thought this through. The skinny man's words struck a chord in everyone's hearts. Everyone's faces were filled with dissatisfaction. Suddenly, a figure appeared around the three. That person laughed softly and a saber light burst out. Muffled groans rang out and the three figures flew back. However, such a real big shot was actually among them. The Ursa Major constellation was close to the Andromeda constellation, and was one of the 5 polar domains. The Andromeda textiles were mainly sold to the Ursa Major constellation and Orion constellation. Wuxia was also known as the Ursa Major Idler. He was the guest of the Ursa Major constellation's master, Yen Yong Lai. He had many connections. He was the descendant of a noble in the Ursa Major constellation. Although he did not hold any official positions, he had a huge influence in the Ursa Major constellation. A middle-aged man stood up and said, "Master, if you want to punish us, I am willing to bear the consequences." But if Wuxia took the initiative to admit his mistake, Ta Dun could not do anything. With this excuse, if he killed Xianxia, the Ursa Major constellation would not do anything. But if he killed Wuxia, the Ursa Major constellation would be enraged. After a while, a large group of people barged in. And he actually admitted his mistake to General Ta Dun. After a while, Ta Dun appeared in front of Angelina again. He could not hide the joy on his face. He said, "Good, good, good." Pa pa pa. Suddenly there was a commotion outside. A guard ran in anxiously. "Pastor. General. Many business leaders are crowding outside. They are saying that they will have a share of the treasure. They want to see the shape of the treasure." The people who were originally indignant were stunned. Xianxia and the rest might not have heard of him, but Wuxia was a person that everyone knew. Andromeda constellation. Angelina's face changed. Ta Dun squinted his eyes. Angelina ran over. "How is it, father?" Wuxia laughed. "General Ta Dun is a magnanimous man. He will not be calculative with you. I was just trying to scare you. Let's see if you still dare to be so reckless in the future." His voice was filled with killing intent. Everyone's face changed. They remembered that although their master was young, he had a strong and unyielding character. He even dared to declare war against the honorable martial alliance. A few of them looked at each other. They could see the fear in each other's eyes. They thought that Angelina would surrender to them. Who knew that Angelina would be so direct? She did not give them any leeway. If not for the fact that her father had returned to Andromeda City, she would be in trouble. "General Ta Dun, what do you mean by that?" the skinny man shouted. Suddenly, Ta Dun opened his mouth. "I have not been back to Andromeda City for a few years." Ta Dun pretended to be surprised. He quickly helped Wuxia up. "I did not expect Master Wuxia to be in Andromeda constellation. Please take a seat." Many battle robes could be seen floating in the star power pool. He bowed. "General Ta Dun's words will be passed down through the ages. Wuxia is willing to accept General's punishment for his inappropriate actions." He was curious. "I heard everyone talking about the energy beast. I have never heard that the Andromeda fabric can be used to nurture treasures. I wonder if I can have the honor to see it?" Ta Dun squinted his eyes. The guard wanted to say something, but when he saw Angelina's calm expression, he gritted his teeth and ran out. The silver battle robe did not have any trace of the fur of the energy beast. It was silver in color. It looked like it was made out of thin silver foil. It was as light as a feather. However, the astounding amount of astral power made everyone realize how extraordinary it was. Everyone could not believe their eyes. This man knew when to bow and submit. He was a powerful man. No wonder his reputation was so high. Ta Dun did not say anything and draped the battle robe over his body. The moment Ta Dun put it on, the battle robe automatically tightened around his body. The dazzling silver light disappeared. It looked just like an ordinary battle robe. Angelina's eyes widened. She could not help but scream out loud. "Master, Master, we have paid for the energy beast. We have a share of the fabric." Xianxia's face changed. The martial artists were moving in an orderly manner. He could not find any loopholes in their formation. These soldiers did not make any noise. They were silent as they marched. A sense of hopelessness could be felt. "Where did you get the guts from?" Ta Dun's eyes turned cold. Laughing swordsman Xianxia. One of the 7 swordsmen under Wuxia. Ta Dun's weather-beaten face also showed signs of nervousness. Angelina took a deep breath. She knew that they were in trouble. The merchant guilds behind the three of them were not small. Among the merchant guilds in the merchant union they could be ranked in the top 5. Ta Dun's words were like a gust of autumn wind that swept across everyone's hearts. Everyone's faces changed, especially the three who stood up. Their expressions changed drastically. The crowd quietened down. Ta Dun's face was cold. Take them down. General Ta Dun, do you not care about the lives of the citizens of Andromeda Constellation? Xianxia asked. Angelina stared at the star power pool in front of her. The dense star power shone down from the sky like a beam of light, enveloping the star power pool. The star power in the star power pool was so dense that it was almost tangible. The third man who stood out was a skinny man. His triangular eyes looked gloomy. He said, Master, although everyone is a little agitated, they are not unreasonable. We may look good on the surface, but we have suffered great losses this time. The reason why everyone is interested in the energy beasts is because they want to increase their strength and help their families recover. Master said that it is not a problem to distribute the energy beasts according to contribution. But you can't not even let us have a look, right? That's right. Master, you can't not even let us have a look. The blade aura dissipated. A man with red hair and black skin stood there with a blade in his hand. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. Suddenly Ta Dun disappeared. Large groups of martial artists surged into the hall and tightly surrounded them. Xianxia stepped forward and bowed to Ta Dun. Xianxia was rash. I did not expect that there are no rules in the Andromeda City. Ta Dun said coldly, you were right when you said that we should be punished. Although the Ursa Major constellation was only one of the 5 polar domains, their strength was not inferior to the constellations of the 10 equatorial palace halls. Wuxia had a high position in the Ursa Major constellation, but he had personally apologized to General Ta Dun. Ta Dun had decided to take the opportunity to get rid of Xianxia and the 3 presidents. He had sufficient reasons to do so. Even if the Ursa Major constellation was unhappy, they would not be able to find fault with him. He seemed to be lamenting, but it attracted everyone's attention. Many of them wanted to follow Wuxia's footsteps, but they could not find a way to do so. If they were in the Ursa Major constellation, they would be able to do anything under Master Wuxia's care. A few figures rushed towards the 3 of them. The 3 of them had looks of fear and despair. They did not expect Ta Dun to make a move. Angelina did not allow him to speak. She interrupted him and said sternly, who instigated this? Stand out. But now she was not flustered. She smiled, you guys still know that I am the master. Look, you guys are all here to cause trouble. As a military leader, he knew the value of being invisible. Chapter 394. Everyone nodded their heads. Mo Bao, who had just spoken, was now full of excitement. He said proudly, Master, do not look down on us. If our opponents are too weak, we will not be able to display our skills. Wuxia was indeed having a headache. Angelina had already understood her father's thoughts. She said indifferently, President Zhu, you are too impatient. This is just an intention. We will use this batch of treasures to exchange for more energy beasts from Mr. Tang Tian. With more energy beasts, why would we be afraid of not having treasures? Only we can turn the energy beasts into treasures. Everyone here is a businessman. I believe you all understand the logic behind this. Angelina said indignantly, these people are simply vultures. Once they smell blood, they will want to take a bite. Mo Bao was teased by the 3 of them until his ears turned red. If they were to sell the treasures to others, they would definitely not agree. But if they were to use the treasures to exchange for more energy beasts, to them it would be worth it. As long as there were energy beasts, there would be treasures. The more energy beasts there were, the more treasures they could obtain. In this process, the consumption of star power was the most. Hence, in the end, the one who invested the most was Angelina. Many of the other presidents expressed their agreement. But at this time no one dared to speak. Angelina's face darkened. She said coldly, it seems that the management of the Merchant Alliance is too messy. We need to make some changes. The few of them were shocked. No problem. Angelina smiled. As long as Master Wuxia has energy beasts, Angelina will be honored to be able to do business with Master Wuxia. Gurua also had some ideas. He said, let's get in touch with him first. Compared to Andromeda constellation, our Ursa Major constellation is much more powerful. Compared to Leo constellation, we can show more sincerity. If he is really seeking his own death, we can just do it cleanly. Because they have a strong army. Ta Dun said, no army would be able to reject these 100 treasures. I am sorry. These treasures will all be given to Mr. Tang Tian. Ta Dun said calmly. He was not affected by what had just happened. Angelina smiled. Once Mr. Tang Tian comes out, I will convey Master Wu Xia's greetings to Mr. Tang Tian. After a while, Angelina was a little worried. Will Tang Tian and the others agree? Some people secretly decided in their hearts that they must beg for forgiveness from the Lord later. Otherwise, their future days would be difficult. Hunter Adrian. Wu Xia slowly uttered these 6 words. Old Six said righteously, I support you as long as you give me half of the credit. The light in their eyes surged and all of them palpitated with excitement. Everyone felt a headache coming on. Even Guru felt the same. This could be heard from his tone. How could Angelina be in the mood to listen to these people's flattery? She dismissed them on the spot. Guru and Wu Xia looked at each other and saw the smile in each other's eyes. The 2 most authoritative people of Ursa Major Constellation if they could complete this mission. To be able to kill a gold-ranked martial artist, he is already a top-notch expert in Heaven's Road. Although from the video it looks like he won by a fluke, his strength is still pretty good. What's more troublesome is that he has an army. That means the possibility of him giving up the treasures is very small. Guru rubbed his head. Other than that, they suddenly appeared in Andromeda Constellation. They have already found the waterway from Lupus Constellation to Andromeda Constellation, which is the famous Seasons Field waterway. The army under him is already stationed at the exit of the waterway. There was no need to talk about His Majesty. Yen Yonglai was the leader of a generation. In his hands, Ursa Major Constellation was chasing after the 10 equatorial palace halls. Even this General Tu Qing was not ordinary. Ursa Major Constellation's strongest army was the famous Grizzly Bear Army, and General Tu Qing was the commander of this army. Thinking about Tang Tian, Angelina's mood suddenly became better. Humph, even if we can't get it, we can't let them have it. The surroundings quietened down. Everyone turned their faces, their killing intent soaring. Their morale was soaring, they were fearless and could not wait to have a good fight. Wuxia smiled. I just received news we have one more opponent. Her words caused the faces of all the presidents to change, but no one dared to speak up. After all, they were the ones who listened to the 3 of them and came to cause trouble. They were in the wrong first. General Ta Dun's determination had given them a huge shock. If not for Master Wu Xia's appearance, Lu Xingjia would not have been able to escape death. When he heard Guru say that only the big brother and second brother could defeat Tang Tian, he was already unconvinced. Because Guru was resourceful and was older, she was ranked 3rd. In terms of strength, among the 7 of them, Mo Bao was second only to Old Man Yu. With that, he brought his men and left. The 3 presidents' faces were ashen, but they followed Wu Xia closely. Under such circumstances, they could only gamble on not being abandoned by Master Wu Xia. The 4th brother Mo Bao shouted. He better be tactful or else he will be chopped into pieces. Let me say this first, when the time comes I will be the first to go. None of you fight with me. The skinny president panicked. General Ta Dun, didn't Master say that these treasures will be distributed to us according to our contributions? Why did you give them to others without our consent? Furthermore, such a good thing, why should we give it to an outsider? Wu Xia suddenly laughed. His gaze was as cold as ice. Then can I request your majesty to help me contact Mr. Tang Tian? Mr. Tang Tian's sudden appearance has made me admire him. His face was gloomy, and his gaze was cold as he stared at Angelina. Thank you, your majesty. Wu Xia bowed gracefully. Then I shall not cause more trouble for your majesty. Goodbye. Everyone was full of praises for him. The one who spoke was the Heaven's Wit Blade Gurual, ranked 3rd among the 7 swordsmen. He had always been intelligent and was deeply trusted by Wu Xia. Just like what he said, using the treasures to exchange for more energy beasts was not a loss at all. They did not need to pay any extra. Gurua's words made the atmosphere even more lively. She could not guess, but she knew that he would definitely make these people suffer. My lord is really wise to be able to come up with such a wonderful idea. I know. Angelina was unhappy. He suddenly thought of him. If he was here, how would he deal with these people? Many of the presidents heard Angelina's words and nodded their heads. Bao, you only know how to talk big. It's because big brother and second brother are not here. Lu Xingjie jeered. The first to speak were the presidents who did not intend to curry favor with Wuxia. The scale of these presidents' businesses were not big. They knew that they could not curry favor with Master Wuxia, so they might as well get more treasures. He can't wait for big brother and second brother to not be here, so he can take all the credit for himself. Lao Wu giggled. For a mission like this, it is not easy to come across it. Wuxia encouraged, everyone must be mentally prepared for the difficulties that we might encounter. Everyone's face changed. Wuxia's face revealed a look of shock. He did not expect such an outcome. As for whether they would get the treasures now or later, they did not care. If they could get more treasures, why would it matter if they had to wait for a period of time? Master's really thoughtful. Wuxia took the opportunity to fan the flames. This mission was entrusted by General Tu Qing. His Majesty even personally met him and exhorted him for a long time. His Majesty said that whoever achieves the greatest merit in this mission will be rewarded by His Majesty personally. Everyone laughed, and the oppressive atmosphere immediately dissipated. It was Wuxia who was rash. Wuxia immediately admitted his mistake and changed the topic. But His Majesty also said that it was only an intention. It seems that the deal has not been completed. I wonder if Wuxia can offer a price? Angelina's interest was piqued. Why? Angelina did not avoid Wuxia's gaze. She maintained her elegant smile and remained unmoved. I will. Ta Dun was certain. This was done intentionally by Gurua to arouse Mo Bao's competitive spirit. Lao Da and Lao Er, due to certain reasons, would arrive later. They had followed Master Wuxia for a long time, but it was their first time encountering such an important mission. They knew that this was a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. Orion constellation. Wuxia's eyes flashed. Their messengers have arrived. They have the same idea as us. After everyone had left, the hall was once again empty. Ta Dun, on the other hand, was much calmer. He was much more experienced. He explained, our Andromeda constellation is just a small constellation. There are many times when we have to compromise. Wuxia's face congealed. Angelina's words left him with no room to refute. Seasons Field Waterway, what a lucky fellow. Wuxia saw that the atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. He laughed. It is indeed a little troublesome. However, compared to the big guys that we have killed, this is definitely a small guy. Everyone please take pity on him. Gurua added, he has been in closed-door training for more than 2 months. I reckon that he has improved a lot. Lao Er and Lao Da should be able to take him down. But the problem is that this person is very stubborn. He did not even give in to Andre and the Onyx Soul Hall's Hall Master Tu Zishan. He is an extremely stubborn person. We also have to take note of Crane, who seems to have a close relationship with the Sagittarius Empress. Also, their gazes swept across the 3 presidents. The 3 of them were in trouble. They would definitely be kicked out of the Merchant Alliance by Angelina. If they dragged this on for a period of time, their share would be free. Who knows, they might even be able to obtain a star treasure. She had not interacted much with Tang Tian, but she knew that he was an extremely stubborn person. He did not even give face to Andre. Wuxia would definitely have a headache if he were to face him. Angelina looked at Wuxia apologetically and said, Sir Wuxia, please forgive us. We, the Commerce Union, do business. Although we can't be as trustworthy as Sir Wuxia, we still have to be responsible to our customers and treat them with integrity. Who is it? Gurua asked. Chapter 395. Adrian smiled. Zhongguang was an honest man. He turned and looked at a young man. Xiao, what do you think? Mr. Adrian. Ta Dun greeted him with a face full of smiles. Angelina heard that Mr. Hunter is coming to Andromeda City. She was so excited that she did not sleep the whole night. She even asked me to welcome you personally. Xiao Siyun, who was standing behind Ta Dun, blushed. Ever since he went to the Lupus Army's encampment, he had been deeply shaken. Ever since he came back, he had been training crazily. But when he heard Adrian's compliment, he did not feel proud at all. Instead, he felt as though he was suffocating. What a smart woman. Adrian commented and said, seems like the focus of our attack this time is Tang Tian. Tang Tian's 1,000-cleave demonic hand had reached a new level. He had finally defeated his enemy and broken free from the dream. The carriage landed. A group of martial artists were already waiting for them. The leader of the group was Ta Dun. Adrian was one of the most famous martial artists in Orion constellation. When he graduated at the age of 21, he became the principal of his alma mater, Star Nebula Academy. In the next 10 years, Star Nebula Academy became the most famous school in Orion constellation, producing many geniuses. But due to the heavy workload that took up too much of his time, he did not make any progress in the 10 years. Thus, at the age of 31, he resigned from his position and began his long journey. Initially, Tang Tian felt that he was just a bystander. But as the dream changed, he could not help but be influenced by it. He was the hunter Adrian. Many young martial artists who boasted of their outstanding talents were also eager to be noticed by Adrian. As long as a genius was praised by Adrian, their value would immediately increase exponentially. He must have a lot of things to say to her. Ta Dun said, maybe Adrian will have the chance to meet him in the future. Lu Zhongguang was stunned for a moment, then laughed. So he is an idiot. Lu Zhongguang was even more excited. That's right, Xiao, who cares if he is a godlike young man? Even if he is a real god, Xiao, you can still defeat him. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Then they tacitly changed the topic. However, Tang Tian already knew that the Thousand Hands Demon Monarch had perished together with his enemy in reality. The only person who could make him willingly become a spirit card was the lady with the surname Feng, who kept appearing in his dreams. The youth who was asked was about 17 years old. He had red lips, white teeth, and a delicate appearance. He was Adrian's right-hand man, Ru Xiao, also known as Orion's flower. Ru Xiao shook her head. I can't tell much. But from the information we gathered, Angelina has an expert guiding her from behind. Then who could it be? Lu Zhongguang did not doubt Axios' judgment. He had always trusted Axios' judgment, and his curiosity was immediately piqued. He wanted to tell her that he had gotten his revenge. A glint flashed across Adrian's eyes. He smiled and said, "Oh, great general, you've really piqued my curiosity." Luckily, they were not enemies of Andromeda constellation. Xiao Xiyun rejoiced, but immediately after he felt ashamed of himself. The smile on Ta Dun's face disappeared. In the past, I was rather proud of my ability to lead troops. But now, I know that I was just a frog in a well, arrogant and conceited. On the surface of the sea behind him, a door slowly appeared. It's difficult, Ashio said. From the information we gathered, the possibility of Tang Tian spitting out the treasures is very small. His nickname is very unique. It's not that simple. Do you know what the Honorable Martial Alliance said about him? They called him Grindstone. They thought that he was a genius of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Only after experiencing Tang Tian's tempering would he be able to reveal his true potential. This kind of evaluation has never happened before. Ashio shook his head. I've researched all of his experiences. He is a person with deep thoughts. Senior Thousand Hands Demon Monarch, hatred will never be as important as the people who are still alive. Adrian's arrival had caused Andromeda City to explode. Andre was revered by people because of his noble identity and the power he represented. But Adrian, although he had no power, he was deeply respected by people. Tang Tian stood quietly on the surface of the sea. His face was filled with sadness. The indigo mirror ocean beneath his feet was tranquil and beautiful. It was as though everything that had happened was just a dream. He wanted to tell her not to wait for him anymore. Ashio did not reply but continued. Big Bear Idler Wuxia has brought people here. But I heard that they met with a soft rebuff from Angelina and Ta Dun. Angelina intends to give the treasures to Tang Tian in exchange for more energy beasts. Lu Zhongguang could not help but exclaim. Zhou Xian is too crazy. He must have wanted to go back and see her. Adrian asked in surprise. I wonder which general made the Grand General so emotional? Tang Tian was slightly sad. But he felt that he was feeling sad for the ancient people. Thousand Hands Demon Monarch's soul had already disappeared. The lady surnamed Feng had already passed away a few hundred years ago. Maybe she had descendants. Adrian laughed. Zhongguang, don't bully Ashio. But Ashio, I feel that what Zhongguang said is very reasonable. A tall man dressed in a black windbreaker quietly stood in front of the railings, looking down at Fairy City. His sideburns were slightly white, his gaze was deep and profound, his face was sharp and angular, as though he was thinking about something. His eyes were like the stars behind the fog, flickering with a faint light aura. After standing quietly for a while, Tang Tian looked at the vast sea. He muttered to himself. Thousand Hands Demon Monarch, actually this is also good. Although you really want to become her martial spirit and protect her, but if you do that she will be in too much pain. This kind of protection is also a burden. So, the way things are now is pretty good. Lu Zhongguang did not believe him. Xiao, you say that he is smart. I don't object. But you say that even you can't do it. I don't believe that. Xiao shook his head. I'm not talking about General Ta Dun. General Ta Dun is experienced and steady. He is a rare military leader. But his way of doing things is a typical military style. He is not that crafty. Lu Zhongguang nodded. Xiao is talking about Ta Dun? General Ta Dun is indeed powerful. Adrian bowed in gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty. General Ta Dun is here personally and Adrian is deeply moved. Because of his early years in school, Adrian was always willing to help and guide young people. This earned him a great reputation. Although he did not hold any official position, he could enter and leave the palace whenever he wanted. Regardless of whether it was a high-ranking official or a commoner, they all respected and loved him. I don't know about other things. But Xiao, you will definitely beat Tang Tian. Lu Zhongguang said proudly. On the vast sea, a cold wind suddenly blew. In the 12 years of traveling, no one knew what happened. The godlike young man is just an illusion that he created. Xiao said seriously. His way of doing things is just like his nickname. Very stupid and muddle-headed. But if you look closely, you will realize that all his seemingly reckless actions in the end always achieved the best results. Even if it was me, under such circumstances, I would definitely not be able to do better. Even to achieve what he did today is extremely difficult. In the last battle he was forced into a dead end. His thousand-cleaved demonic hand could not defeat his enemy. Just as he was about to lose, Tang Tian suddenly remembered what the Thousand Hands Demon Lord said before he disappeared. His voice was slightly hoarse but full of magnetism. His words were carefree and extremely charming. Adrian's arrival made all the young martial artists in Fairy City extremely excited. If they could receive a few words of advice from Adrian, it would definitely be beneficial for them for life. Tang Tian's mood suddenly became better. Revealing a bright smile, he shouted to the sea, Thousand Hands Demon Lord Senior, you think so too, right? Of course it's looks. Lu Zhongguang laughed out loud. Are Xiao's beauty, even women feel ashamed. Oh, what's it called? Adrian was interested. Xiao was curious. What? Adrian's lodgings were filled with young martial artists from all over the world. When he was 43 years old, he returned to Star Nebula Academy. His qi became unfathomable. At that time, Orion Constellation's sword Saint Yu Exense met him and praised him for his Saint Domain qi. When he was young, he was lazy and accomplished nothing. Suddenly, he realized that he was powerless to reverse the situation. Remorse and pain haunted him for his entire life. Even when he met the girl he liked, he was not willing to stop his revenge. Such a shocking explosion, it would require at least 20 silver treasures to explode. Adrian muttered to himself. Xiao's heart warmed, but he was not used to people praising him. He knew that the Plateau Army had improved a lot, but compared to the Lupus Army there was still a gap. On horseback, Adrian praised, I have long heard of General Ta Dun's strict management of the army. Seeing you today, you truly live up to your reputation. I have traveled to many different constellations and have seen many armies. But to have such a military style like yours is extremely rare. In that dream, he experienced the life of the Thousand Hands Demon Lord. He wanted to tell her. Godlike young lad, interesting, right? Xiao said with a smile. I heard that he often calls himself that. Adrian got on his horse and the army advanced slowly. You are too kind, please get on the horse. Ta Dun gestured and a few docile star spirit horses were led over. Lu Zhongguang was shocked. Really? Don't be fooled by your eyes. Xiao, don't belittle yourself. I believe that your intelligence and strength are not below any of the geniuses. Adrian laughed. Battle, pursuit, revenge. Chapter 396. This move was truly out of the ordinary. Black Puppet also sensed that something was amiss. He bellowed, the black mist around his body constricted, transforming into a black shield. Lone Wolf Killer, Tsindang Heaven Road List Rank 3112. Lu Zhongguang's face changed. He could clearly see that it was a silver arrow. Tang Tian quivered, his pupils dilated, both of his hands instinctively placed in front of his chest. the thousand-cleaved demonic hand that he had trained crazily for the past few days. Without thinking, he immediately made his move. Ding ding ding. He had been doing this for the past few days. But the atmosphere tonight, he had a faint premonition that it would not be peaceful. Reflection Swordsman, real name unknown, Heaven Road, list rank 3109. Black Puppet's eyes suddenly froze. He did not expect that among the few chi that he was unable to judge, there was actually a concealed weapons grandmaster grade expert. Out of the 19 people, there were at least 5 whose strength was on par with him. Xiao had told him about the names of the people and he was able to match 3 of them. Someone shouted in the darkness, "Use concealed weapons." Even he felt that it was boring. The other people's patience was at its limit. At the start, everyone was cautious and did not want to expose themselves. But as time passed, many of them could no longer hold back. A blood wound appeared on his throat, and in the blink of an eye, blood spurted out from his neck like a fountain. Lu Zhongguang's eyes glanced at the black mist, his pupils constricting. Black Puppet. Black Puppet was rushing towards the room where the star treasures were stored. His intentions were clear. The concealed weapons that were as fine as rain drew out rays of light. Tang Tian's hands seemed to have some sort of magical power, quickly moving and passing through the light strings. Although General Ta Dun did not make a big fuss that day, but the position of the star treasures did not escape everyone's eyes. The sudden change caused everyone who was extremely nervous to subconsciously shoot out the concealed weapons in their hands. The most dazzling light beam was the silver arrow that was whistling through the air. His 10 fingers were like flowing water. In a moment he had pressed on the silver arrow 7 times, causing the silver arrow to lose all its strength. Lu Zhongguang's eyes widened. Although he had long heard of their outstanding strength, but personally witnessing it, he was still shocked by Ling Su and Crane's strength. In the blink of an eye, the speck of cold light exploded and countless cold lights swept towards the newcomer like raindrops. Abai's misty kill had shocked everyone. For a moment no one dared to move. Everyone's nerves were highly taut. There was a concealed weapon grandmaster lying in ambush in the dark at night. This was absolutely an extremely frightening matter. Sparks flew everywhere. Ling Su's spear light was like a raging tide. Countless cold lights flickered, giving people a feeling that there was no way to escape. The reflection swordsman struggled and floated in the sea of spears, looking rather pathetic. When the reflection swordsman made his move, it was like a fuse. Immediately, many of the cultivators watching from the shadows made their moves simultaneously. For a time, the sound of clothes fluttering in the air could be heard. My goodness, this was practically a gathering of the 3,100th rankers of the heaven list. The sounds of collisions were as dense as rain, incessant and incessant. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 black figures flew out. Everyone was on guard against each other and maintained a safe distance from each other. From Lu Zhongguang's position, it looked as though the walls of the manor were filled with people. Ling Su and Crane's ranking seemed to be underestimated. The clear and crisp sound of the concealed weapons hitting the floor could be heard clearly in the dead silence. It was definitely the most powerful archery technique he had ever seen. Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound enveloped the entire place. But the reflection swordsman's strength was extremely robust. After experiencing the initial discomfort, he quickly stabilized his footing. The reflection swordsman's sword technique was extremely unique. Every sword would produce a reflection, real and fake, and it was hard to differentiate the real from the fake. The reflection swordsman and Tsindeng's strength was not surprising. But for Ling Su and Crane, even after 10 moves, they were not at a disadvantage, causing Lu Zhongguang to be extremely surprised. A few martial artists who were caught off guard screamed out. One of them had a hole in his chest and another had a hole in his abdomen. But even more martial artists were prepared and all used their techniques to block. A shocking scene appeared. A wooden door suddenly shattered, and in the midst of the wood shavings, a cold aura appeared like a star. Black Puppet's entire body was enveloped in a green-colored black mist, which was the famous Blackwood Barrier, which was extremely poisonous. Many different colored concealed weapons fell from Tang Tian's hands onto the ground like flowing water, releasing a series of clear and crisp sounds. Ding ding ding. Misty Shadow Hand Abai was a famous concealed weapon martial artist. His most unique point was to fuse water affinity true power with concealed weapons, forming a unique style of mist concealed weapons. No one noticed that a figure had quietly appeared in front of Black Puppet's neck. In the past 2 hours, 6 people had left and 7 more had joined. Suddenly, Lu Zhongguang felt a few energy undulations. After a while he reacted and laughed involuntarily. It was someone secretly using a star treasure to record the battle. Ignoring everything else, these recordings were extremely popular in the market. Black Puppet jumped in fright from the rain of concealed weapons, and immediately used his hands to block. The last martial artist was obviously stronger than the other two, and Lu Zhongguang recognized him with one look. It was Lone Wolf Tsindang. Lone Wolf Tsindang was a relatively famous martial artist. He had always been a lone wolf and never cooperated with others, which made him extremely versatile. His simple and honest face revealed a look of surprise, his heart secretly muttering, "Oh my God, it's truly incredible." Around the small manor there were actually 19 people lying in ambush. Oh, I forgot about myself, there were 20. The silver arrow struck the black barrier and shattered on the spot, but the immense force caused Black Puppet to groan, and immediately fly out horizontally. His talent wasn't that great, but Adrian's patience was top-notch. Hiding in the dark, searching for the faintly discernible chi, he stayed there for 2 hours. The mist-concealed weapons were extremely well concealed and were extremely sudden, making them extremely hard to detect. This earned him a huge reputation in the aspect of concealed weapon martial techniques, and was highly respected by many concealed weapon martial artists, as they thought of him as one of the current generation's concealed weapon grandmasters. Lu Zhongguang watched to his heart's content. It was rare to see experts of this level fighting. Although there were many concealed weapons but everyone present, their standards of concealed weapons were relatively ordinary. The momentum was much stronger than the power, and Black Puppet quickly realized that and immediately calmed down. Tang Tian, who had just finished his training and was still feeling sad, opened the door in a daze. Upon opening the door, his eyes suddenly lit up with countless light auras, and the concealed weapons shot towards him like rain. In another direction, a few martial artists were being held up by Crane. Crane's body technique was free and unrestrained, like a black crane dancing in the sky. His sword techniques were unpredictable. Fighting 1 against 3, he was actually not at a disadvantage. Bang! 1 2 3. 19. 2 screams came out from the sky. It was 2 martial artists who had lost their lives under Crane's sword. Suddenly, a shadow that was hard to catch with the naked eye quietly approached the manor. Black Puppet did not know where he obtained a set of wood-type martial technique inheritance, and was able to train in such a strange martial technique. As long as the black wooden barrier was touched, it would drill into the body and there was no way to save it. Lu Zhongguang was speechless, but also excited. It had been a long time since he had encountered such a big scene. He was a student that Adrian took in during his travels. He was an honest and sincere person, and Adrian's daily life was mostly taken care of by him. After following his teacher for a long time, his strength was no small matter. Black Puppet, real name unknown, ranked 3106 on the Heaven Road list. So fast. Misty Shadow Hand Abai. As for the chi that he was unable to determine, it was hard to say. Lu Zhongguang's mind was roused. It was Reflection Swordsman. Xiao's evaluation of Tang Tian was extremely high, which made Lu Zhongguang curious. Although he had followed his teacher for a long time, but towards Xiao's abilities he admired him from the bottom of his heart. In the darkness, Lu Zhongguang slowly counted the chi hidden in the shadows. Lu Zhongguang's attention was quickly attracted to the battlefield. Lu Zhongguang's face changed. His gaze landed not far from where Black Puppet fell. There was a thumb-sized hole in the ground. A name surfaced in his mind. But there were too many eyes staring at the star treasure for Black Puppet to obtain it. How could it be so easy? Lu Zhongguang exclaimed in his heart. He was ranked 3098 and felt that it was interesting. But he was even more cautious, even though he was ranked the highest. But in such an environment, if he were to meet the other 3, he would most probably die miserably. The door of the hidden treasure was pushed open. But Lu Zhongguang felt that it would not be so easy. Xiao also did not believe that the people hiding in the shadows would be able to succeed. Tang Tian held on to a bunch of concealed weapons, his expression at a loss. Under such a beautiful performance, everyone felt that it was extremely dazzling. Finally unable to endure it anymore, you want to take action? A straight silver light swept across everyone's vision. The scene was extremely spectacular. Immediately, countless of concealed weapons covered the sky and shot towards Black Puppet. All of the concealed weapons were enveloped with different colored light auras. Some of them formed straight light scars in the air, some of them formed strange arcs, but without question all of them were rushing towards Black Puppet. Bang! He was an expert in direct confrontations, and in such a place where one could not even see their fingers he would be extremely passive. He compared in his heart and reckoned that out of the three, Black Puppet had the highest chance of winning, followed by Reflection Swordsman, and Tsindeng was ranked third. He had the leisure to play around because he did not need to take action. Hiding here was just to keep an eye on him. Ever since General Ta Dun had sent the chests of star treasures to the manor, there were countless of eyes around. In a short span of 10 moves, Tsindeng's blade techniques had changed to 7 to 8 completely different martial techniques. A few of the blade techniques were not high grade, but in Tsindeng's hands, they were extremely powerful, and produced many changes that caused people to exclaim in admiration. 3 illusory mist kills were flicked by his fingertips and disappeared. Tang Tian's 10 fingers bloomed like flowers. Black Puppet's death would definitely add a glorious stroke to Ah Bai's achievements. Lu Zhongguang held the attitude of watching a good show. Ding ding ding. If someone was able to snatch all the star treasures away it would be the best for them. Tang Tian had Lupus Constellation behind him, while Angelina and Ta Dun represented Andromeda Constellation, so they could not take action. If they were to land in the hands of bandits, they would not have to worry about anything. Just at that moment a creaking sound suddenly came out. Lu Zhongguang was filled with anticipation. He had heard that Ling Su and Crane were also very strong. In the blink of an eye, the sky full of light beams entered his palm. Chapter 397. The sudden bright light aura reflected Lu Zhongguang's frozen expression. It was not the plateau army. Although the warehouse was far away, but the distance of 3 kilometers to the Flaming Steps horse was not far and arrived in a flash. Kill. When Tang Yi rushed to the main road, all the people on the streets were stunned, looking at the cavalry that had appeared out of nowhere in shock. Every single one of them had a profound background, and were not people that the plateau army could contend against. The only thing that the plateau army could do was to protect Tang Tian and the rest. Angelina's expression was calm. We also need to probe their strength. If they are not strong enough to become our ally, then these 100 star treasures will be our only bargaining chip. The Lupus army suddenly dispersed, splitting into 20 small groups. Like 20 sharp arrows, they brazenly rushed towards the crowd around the manor. Under the night sky, the finger shadows that were like flowers blooming and the light beams that filled the sky disappeared. This scene was bound to be imprinted in many people's memories. The wide streets, the neat and tidy stone slabs, were the most suitable for cavalry to rush. On the horse, Tang Yi's face was gloomy. He was full of praise for Master Crane's plan. As expected of Master Crane, his wit was unparalleled. All of the small groups were in a straight line as though they were measured by a ruler. They sprinted like a straight spear. The inns and residences near these 2 places were all filled with people. A shout filled with killing intent resonated throughout the entire place. Tang Yi saw the incomparably furious Tang Tian. His originally closed eyes suddenly opened wide, revealing his killing intent. Inside the room the atmosphere became heavy. Before the word die could be heard, the wall suddenly exploded. In the blink of an eye, a dense formation of troops impressively appeared in everyone's vision. The process was smoother than they had imagined, and it was the most chaotic period in Fairy City. Although the plateau army was protecting Fairy City, but for the daily patrols they did not have the energy, and the original guards were severely injured. Adding the continuous influx of martial artists from outside, all of them were strong and unruly martial artists. With just a word of disagreement they would start fighting. The guards were not their match and could only turn a blind eye, not daring to provoke them. Lu Zhongguang's pupils constricted. A word popped up in his mind: ambush. From the moment the Lupus army entered the battlefield till now, the time was so short that it could be disregarded, but the strength that the Lupus army had displayed had caused him to be shocked. The horse's heavy and powerful hooves knocked on the hard stone floor, causing sparks to fly, and the sound was muffled like thunder. When 200 of these cavalrymen gathered together, it was like an unstoppable flood of flames. The ground of the entire street was trembling, and the pedestrians all turned pale with fright as they hurriedly moved out of the way. The warehouse was not on the main road but in a remote alley. The sound of horse hooves was like a tide flooding the alley. A group of unfamiliar cavalrymen charged in through the gap. Their speed was so fast that even the dust from the crumbling walls disappeared like a gust of wind. What an impressive army! Tang Tian must be trying to display the strength in his hands. Tang Yi expressionlessly squeezed the horse's belly. The flaming horse king charged forward like a red shadow. The cavalrymen behind him did not hesitate and moved at the same time. In his vision, all of the lupus martial artists raised the curved horses in their hands in unison. Tang Tian's strength seemed like he needed to re-evaluate it. And they only had one mission: to give all of their enemies a thunderous blow and intimidate them all. Ding. No one was chatting and no one spoke. The warehouse was extremely quiet. Approximately 3 kilometers away from the manor that Tang Tian and the rest were staying in, there was a dilapidated warehouse, which belonged to a small trading organization. But in the past it was rented by a mysterious merchant for a high price. If the president of the small trading organization saw the scene inside the warehouse, he would definitely be stunned. The huge warehouse was filled to the brim with flaming steps, horses and people everywhere. Every martial artist sat beside their own mounts to rest, and the flaming steps horses were very quiet, as though they were sleeping. Tang Yi's transformation directly affected the 200 cavalrymen behind him, causing all of their fighting intent to soar. The 200 flaming steps horses brazenly charged forward along the main road. In the silence, the thunderous sounds of the horse hooves gradually grew louder, causing many people to wake up from their dreams. Everyone did not care. The plateau army's interference to many people was normal. And they believed that the plateau army would definitely not make a move on them. Whoosh. The entire manor was quiet. Everyone was stunned by Tang Tian's performance. That move was truly too shocking. Looking at the concealed weapons beneath Tang Tian's feet, they were big and small of all kinds, and the number was huge. With a glance, there were at least a few hundred of them. Move out. Advance. When the last concealed weapon dropped from Tang Tian's hand, Tang Tian immediately woke up. I was attacked? And not right, I was attacked. When Ta Dun sent people to deliver all of the woven star treasures to the manor, Crane and Ling Su immediately sensed the danger. Crane snuck into Tang Yi's army camp to seek for support, and formulated a plan. The 20 small groups roared at the same time, converging into a powerful current. The fighting intent in Tang Yi's chest was boiling. In his slightly closed eyes, a light flickered, the aura around his body quietly converged. The curved blade was like the moon, the light aura reflecting off the snow. As expected of a deep scheming fellow. Their troops were too orderly, to the point that he could not believe his eyes. Lu Zhongguang was startled. The roar contained killing intent. It did not sound like a bluff. Under the shocked gazes of the passers-by, an unending stream of cavalry surged out from the alley. Ta Dun's heart was filled with emotions, but he was not happy at all. If it was possible, he would have liked the innocent little girl who was waiting for her father to bring her presents. 200 curved blades, as though they were pulled by an invisible thread, neatly falling down. Tang Yi's roar was like thunder that entered everyone's ears. The warehouse door had already opened, and the bustling of the streets outside entered their ears. It was the time for the night lights to be lit, and to the residents of Andromeda City who were used to sleeping late, the night had just begun. Ta Dun was speechless. Angelina was right. The situation was getting more and more chaotic. With the intervention of Ursa Major constellation and Orion constellation, it was clear that they could not protect the 100 star treasures, so how to use the 100 star treasures to fight for more benefits for Andromeda constellation was something they had to consider. Lu Zhongguang felt that it was a good choice. To properly display the strength in his hands, it could make their situation more advantageous. Although Lu Zhongguang was surprised at the Lupus army's military formation, but he was not too cautious about the following charge. The charge of a 10-man small unit was enough to deal with ordinary martial artists, but against the experts it was not enough. A loud sound came out and dust filled the air. But it was a pity. His warehouse was too far from Tang Tian's manor. To be able to rent it for such a price, he was already satisfied. To prevent people from noticing, Crane arranged for the gathering point to be far away from the manor. Tang Yi and the rest entered the city, disguised as a merchant group, and on this point Ling Su gave many suggestions. He had followed the merchant group to roam the world for a long time, and was extremely clear on what a merchant group was like. The 200 people were divided into 7 different caravans. Tang Yi was the first to rush out of the warehouse, and behind him the cavalry flowed out of the warehouse like water. Tang Tian was enraged, his eyes bloodshot, and bellowed, "You dare to hit me? Seeking death." That was what the majority of the people were thinking. Some of them had already turned and prepared to leave the battlefield. Tang Yi was expressionless, but in his heart he was secretly nodding his head. After this period of bitter training, they finally had some form. This brat. Just that, Ta Dun did not like such tactics. He preferred to fight and kill on the battlefield. He looked at Angelina. Her face was no longer filled with hesitation and confusion, but instead became extremely calm. Compared to the darkness outside, the warehouse was brightly lit. Ta Dun frowned. Isn't this not good? Regardless of what kind of guesses and impressions everyone had towards Tang Tian previously, at the moment, their hearts were filled with shock. After the battle, everyone felt that it was more or less the same. No one thought that the victor would be decided tonight, and the majority of them were just probing. They needed time to digest the results of the battle. The silver arrows and killing mist that killed the black puppet were actually broken. Upon leaving the alley, Tang Yi's expression turned cold. The flaming steps horse below him suddenly neighed. In this period of time, although Fairy City's businesses were showing signs of recovery, but the market was much more withered than before, and the warehouse had always been empty. To be able to rent it out for a large sum of money, the boss of the organization was overjoyed. If the warehouse was closer to Master Tang Tian's manor, then he could rent it for a good price. The most popular location, one was near Master Adrian's residence, the other was near Tang Tian's manor. But this Angelina was what Fairy City needed now. Lupus Army. 200 steel mounts in perfect unison as though they were one body, they crazily rushed forward. Everyone get ready. In the darkness, many people curled their lips. The plateau army was just a small character, and yet they were trying to put on a show. But in the blink of an eye, they were dumbstruck. She had grown up. Lu Zhongguang started to believe Xiao's words. Lu Zhongguang quivered, his eyes wide open. The godlike young lad had always bullied others. When had he ever been bullied like this before? Bang! It was Lu Zhongguang's first time seeing such an army. Ignoring the individual strength of the soldiers, just based on the formation of the army, it was definitely not something an ordinary army could do. Tang Yi's Flaming Steps horse was a rarely seen 7th-level Flaming Steps horse king. Its entire body was scarlet red like blood. It was extremely spirited. The horse neigh cut through the night sky, bringing with it a dense fighting intent. Suddenly, a buzzing sound came out. All the martial artists who were resting with their eyes closed opened their eyes at the same time, their faces revealing an uncontrollable excitement. 10 auras as one, the blade auras transformed into spears. In the night, the rolling sound of hooves sounded like thunder, like the beating of war drums spreading far and wide. With Master Crane and Master Ling Su's strength, it was definitely not a problem to hold back the enemy. The uniform sound came out. All the martial artists in the warehouse had already flipped over and mounted their horses. The originally messy horse formation in the blink of an eye became strict and imposing. Kill. Chapter 398. But no one made a sound. Even the lady in black and Mo Bao, who had dodged the light spear, had a look of fear in their eyes. And they were the thugs under the leader of the scoundrels and would usually have nicknames like the 4 Great Vajras, 13 Great Protectors, etc. The previous heavy spear assault already made everyone feel that it was unstoppable. Then when Tang Yi personally charged, it was on a completely different level. Tang Yi held his blade horizontally, his eyes slowly sweeping across everyone, the imposing aura of disdain enveloping the entire place. It was as though he had done something extremely simple. He turned his horse and slowly moved. Tang Tian revealed his white teeth, the blade in his hand, slashed heavily onto the ground all the way to the hilt. As though Crane was struck by lightning, he was completely petrified. Tang Tian sat there with his golden blade and said loudly, "Today's matter, everyone, how do you want to resolve it?" Many of them were trembling in anger. They were either tyrants or famous experts. When had they ever been extorted by anyone before? But the individual strength of the soldiers were still lacking. If it was any one of the Lion King's 6 subordinates, after a round of assault, no one would be able to survive. Because every single soldier of the Lion King's 6 subordinates was much stronger. Crane, who was deep in introspection, suddenly felt something swaying in front of him. He raised his head in a daze. It was a cloth bag. Just from their coordination, Their standard already had the embryonic form of a top-grade army. The light spear pierced through their bodies without any suspense, leaving behind a terrifying blood hole. The blood spurting out under the light spear's light aura was filled with despair and poignant beauty. Crane almost covered his face with his hands, his heart surging with a deep sense of shame. This guy was truly extorting and blackmailing. Oh my God, how can a person with such a noble character do such a despicable thing? This is a betrayal of our ideals, this is depravity, this is a stain on our lives. Tang Tian casually sat on the doorstep, crossed his right leg, his left hand supporting his chin, his gaze sweeping across everyone with ill intentions. After thinking about it, he felt that his imposing manner was not enough, so he took out a blade and held it in his hand. Tang Tian grabbed an empty cloth bag and waved it in front of Crane. Little Crane, go and take it. Clang clang. Aquila Constellation can attack me? No one thought that the Lupus army's assault would be so decisive and crazy. Most of the martial artists didn't have time to defend themselves. Facing these terrifying spears of light, they could only hurriedly block them. Two deafening collision sounds rang out almost at the same time. Aquila Constellation. Tang Tian laughed. But in his heart he had to admit that the Lupus army under Tang Tian had some standards. He chopped the ground in front of him with the knife in his hand. His face was filled with arrogance, and the moment he opened his mouth, it was filled with the tone of a hooligan. Ling Su was fine, but Crane only felt uncomfortable. Then he looked at himself, Ling Su and Tang Yi, lined up on either side of Tang Tian. On both sides of him, the four small teams moved at the same time. They were like four sharp arrowheads, while Tang Yi was like a magnet that attracted them. 70 steps. The light flashed and disappeared, leaving only half of the old man's body. The light aura from the heavy spear's assault covered Lu Zhongguang's vision. The low and deep whistle that caused his scalp to go numb was like a gigantic and heavy star spirit beast sweeping past his heart. Without roaring, Tang Yi expressionlessly raised the zanbato in his hand. Tang Yi, who had his eyes closed, slowly opened them. His cold gaze caused everyone's heart to shrink. Just as they were about to move, everyone froze as though they were struck by a technique and did not dare to move. Tang Yi's attack just now, they could not dodge it either. As the old saying goes, whoever is the first to run will be killed. Friends hiding in the shadows, come out. There's one below the millstone, the one hanging under the eaves, the one hiding in the corner. Everyone's heart trembled. Everyone was stunned by Tang Tian's words, and only after a while did they react. The lady in black reacted quickly. When the light spear flew in front of her, she threw out the green ring saw in her right hand. The green ring saw spun and flew into the air. Following that, the lady in black appeared in front of the green ring saw, dodging the light spear. Lu Zhongguang regained his senses, his pale white face regaining some color. He secretly laughed in his heart at his cowardice. He could not change and could not be scared. Tang Tian's words made the few people who were originally thinking of getting lucky obediently walk out from the darkness. The old man was startled, thinking that he had heard wrongly. He raised his head and was stunned to see Tang Tian's right hand clenched into a fist, his thumb pointing at himself, his face full of arrogance. With a casual tone, Tang Tian pointed out all the people hiding in the shadows, all of them. His intuition was astonishing. If these people wanted to hide from his detection, they were still far from it. The slow sound of horse hooves in the silence was piercing to the ears. It was as though Tang Tian had an exceptional throwing knife in his hands. One strike was sure to hit. Of course he could not kill everyone, but whoever made the first move, he could definitely kill the other party. The group of people all had their own ulterior motives. Facing such a situation, no one was willing to be the first bird, but in their hearts, they all wanted someone to make the first move and take the chance to escape. To the flaming steps horse with its astonishing sprinting ability, it was just a blink of an eye, and in such a short period of time, the four small groups had already formed a perfect angle to attack from Tang Yi's two sides. Yes. Everyone had the intention to retreat. But as though he knew what everyone was thinking, Tang Tian's arrogant voice came out. In that moment, Lu Zhongguang's mind went blank. Why me? The old man had blocked the attack and his chi was in a mess. He anxiously shouted, "Wait a minute, this old man is in front of Aquila Constellation." Crane and Ling Su saw that the situation had stabilized and floated back to Tang Tian's side. Their opponents, facing a group of Lupus soldiers eyeing them like tigers watching their prey, did not dare to act blindly without thinking. his assault was unparalleled under the heavens. Everyone's faces were terrible, but at that moment, they had no choice but to remain silent. The standard of the Lupus army was truly high. This high standard did not mean that their individual strength was outstanding, but it meant that their combined attack was simply too perfect. In the assault just now, the fusion of the blade auras from the 10 of them did not seem to be damaged. Such a perfect coordination could only appear in the hands of an army with extremely high standards. The Eagle Army was one of the famous elites in Heaven's Road Lupus constellation. What kind of rural place was that? Lu Zhongguang was overwhelmed with shock. He initially thought that he had concealed himself flawlessly, his standard of concealment, even his teacher Adrian was full of praises, but it was actually seen through by Tang Tian. They did not know that Tang Yi had the qualifications to be arrogant, because he was a unique military general. Orion Constellation's Adrian was here. Ursa Major Constellation's Master Wuxia was also here, who knew that Aquila Constellation would also want to interfere. In the first round of attacks, 3 martial artists were able to hold on. One was an old man with a cane, another was a black-robed lady with a double circular saw, and the last one was Wuxia's subordinate Mo Bao. Everyone was silent. The situation was truly chaotic. Mo Bao did not choose to dodge. He had long wanted to test out the weight of these people. He lowered his waist into a horse stance. The circular blade in his hand did not have any fancy moves and slashed down. The light spear exploded. Mo Bao's body swayed, but he did not retreat half a step. But his face was somewhat ugly. Everyone was shocked by Tang Tian's craziness, and was shocked by his blade that lit up the night. Even more people were deeply provoked by Tang Yi's arrogance. Since when did a spirit general dare to look at them as though they were nothing? The blade in Tang Tian's hand kept slashing the ground, causing rocks to fly everywhere. His gaze swept across the crowd, as though he was looking at a group of pigs and sheep that had been skinned clean. The old man's heart relaxed. He originally wanted to fish in troubled waters, but he did not expect Tang Tian's strength to exceed his imagination. But behind him was the tyrant of Aquila Constellation. No matter how powerful Tang Tian was, he did not even put him in his eyes. What kind of freak is he? Aquila Constellation. Tang Tian said loudly, his gaze dense, his face indifferent. Don't say you don't have it. All of you are people with status, with so many eyes watching. If you don't even have a mere 100 million star coins, that would be a loss of face, right? Extortion. The old man was dumbstruck. Was he crazy? Did he not know in front of Aquila Constellation he was just like an ant? Lu Zhongguang suddenly felt that his thoughts were laughable. He actually linked the Southern Sky Army with the Lion King's 6 divisions, the top army in Heaven's Road. It was truly laughable. Tang Tian raised his chin, his expression as arrogant as a hooligan on the streets. Aquila Constellation can run to this young master's territory and behave atrociously? 20 powerful light spears whizzed towards the crowd. Everyone was shocked. Aquila Constellation was one of the 10 equatorial palace halls. In the current 10 equatorial palace halls, none of them were weak. They were Equilius Constellation, Canis Minor Constellation, Aquila Constellation, Ophiuchus Constellation, Serpens Constellation, Sextans Constellation, Hydra Constellation, Monoceros Constellation, Orion Constellation and Cetus Constellation. His eyes were filled with flames. He smiled at the stunned old man, and with an extremely elegant and noble tone, he slowly squeezed out 3 words, "Kill him." 4 light spears flew over from both sides. When Tang Yi's Zanbato slashed down, the 4 light spears entered his blade aura at the same time. The dazzling light aura suddenly blazed. It was as though Tang Yi was holding up a sun. Hey, this scene. Why does it look like I'm collecting protection fees? No one move, Tang Yi. Whoever is the first to escape, kill him. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't have it. What is more valuable than life? Since no one is speaking, then I will speak. Everyone leave something behind. Anything is fine as long as it is worth 100 million star coins. Money cards are welcome. The old man seemed to have awoken from his dream and screamed in despair. No. They were actually being extorted in such an open and above-board manner. Before Tang Tian finished speaking, Tang Yi had already rushed out. The old man's staff technique was ferocious. Facing the light spears, he did not have the slightest bit of fear or retreat. He bellowed, his hair and beard fluttering. He struck out with his staff. The light spears exploded, his figure retreating a few steps, his clothes torn. His mind relaxed, his face naturally became arrogant and reserved. He was waiting for Tang Tian to give him a way out. As long as he was not an idiot, he would definitely not dare to offend Aquila Constellation at such a time. I am such an ambitious aristocratic family disciple. How did I end up in such a state? Crane wanted to cry but had no tears. Chapter 399. Lu Zhongguang was roused. He knew that Ashio was smarter than him and would definitely be able to see more. Ta Dun's plateau army appeared in everyone's vision. Crane held onto the cloth bags and walked over one by one. Lu Zhongguang helplessly waved his hand. If you want to laugh, laugh. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. He had a sudden inspiration, and felt that only by ruthlessly cutting them with a knife could he appease the godlike young lad's anger. The crucial point was, it was star coins. In this day and age, who would go against star coins? He knew the commotion caused by the battle tonight would not dissipate so quickly. Lu Zhongguang secretly evaluated in his heart. His hands were not slow and threw a money card in. After a while, Ashio raised his head. His shy and delicate face was brimming with confidence. There are a few things worth noting. Lu Zhongguang was startled. Forget it, this godlike young lad has a great dream. Lu Zhongguang subconsciously blurted out. What is it? He did not expect that Angelina would hand it over, and with that they could rightfully occupy the waterway. This also meant Angelina had already viewed Lupus constellation as a stronger constellation than Andromeda constellation. Tang Tian, who was sitting with a golden knife, was overjoyed. 100 million per person, and they really paid. Tyrants. They are all tyrants. After the ecstasy, his heart was filled with regret. Seeing them so happy, his asking price was too low. But very quickly Tang Tian consoled himself, it was not too little. There were still 13 people present, that was 1.3 billion. He had to consider if he should rob for a living in the future. The money came too quickly. Tang Tian's way of shouting was also very skillful. It successfully split the crowd. No one was willing to be the first to speak. But Crane was still surprised at Angelina's decisiveness. Knowing that she had made a mistake, she did not hesitate to invest in it to redeem herself. This kind of scheming was not something an ordinary person could do. Even he, who was previously dissatisfied with her for bringing the trouble here, after such an apology, all his dissatisfaction disappeared. Firstly, it was obvious that they had planned this and tonight was a trap. Crane was dressed in black. He was extraordinarily handsome. His face had the shyness of a boy next door, causing Lu Zhongguang to think of Ashio. However, his temperament was more robust than Xio's. Oh, it seemed that he was still a little reserved. Compared to that scheming Tang Tian, he was simply pure and flawless. Andromeda constellation's star doors to the other northern sky constellations were all managed by their respective star doors. Ashio, he is just a spirit general martial artist. Lu Zhongguang reacted and shook his head. Lu Zhongguang's heart was filled with amazement. Right at this moment, an awkward and distressed voice sounded in his ear. Thank you for your patronage. Even such a stupid person can see that. Crane glanced at the ecstatic Tang Tian. His heart was filled with sorrow. Unknowingly, this unreliable person seems to have become a tyrant. Crane laughed at himself from the corner of his eyes. He saw that Ling Su had already impatiently returned to continue training. All right, I truly envy those simple-minded people. After calming down, he could not help but praise. Other than killing the martial artists of Aquila constellation, which made him feel a little rash, he simply could not think of a better way to deal with the current situation. Should I kill all of them? Obviously not possible. The current situation, not only did it have enough deterrence, it also gave everyone some leeway to buffer. Secondly, the martial techniques that Tang Tian displayed, I have never displayed them before. From the looks of it, it should be a unique martial technique, and his attainment is extremely profound. I'm sorry I am late, Ta Dun said. His face did not have any clues. His Majesty did not expect that these things would actually bring so much trouble to everyone. No matter what, Andromeda constellation has to take responsibility for this matter. To express our apologies and for the friendship between Andromeda constellation and Lupus constellation to last forever, His Majesty has already decided to give the Season Fields waterways exit a radius of 50 kilometers to the Lupus constellation, and your noble side can build a city there. After Crane collected the money, Tang Tian stood up in satisfaction and clapped his hands. All right, I will not keep everyone for a meal. You are welcome to come again. Rumble, the sound of a large-scale cavalry approaching. The Lupus army immediately stopped what they were doing and maintained their vigilance. If Crane knew of Tang Tian's muttering, he would definitely not say a word and smash the sack on his face. Lu Zhongguang already completely believed in Xiao's judgment. To him, the Lupus army was truly powerful, but to keep everyone here it was impossible. There were many martial artists present, and if the situation became chaotic, how many could the Lupus army kill? And if they were to provoke everyone into a common enemy with the strength of the people present, there was a chance to turn defeat into victory. "You are welcome to come again." Everyone looked at Tang Tian, and Tang Tian could see the anger in everyone's eyes, but he did not care. But there were a few people who were calm and did not show any joy or anger, causing Tang Tian to instinctively feel danger. What a superb psychological control ability. So what if he is a spirit military leader? Xiao, who was drinking water, stopped. Can't a spirit military leader be a unique military leader? Have you forgotten about the one from Ursa Major constellation? The ownership of the Star Door had always been the core benefit of Heaven's Road, and on this point no constellation would easily give it up. For example, Orion Andromeda Star Door. The ownership was in the hands of Orion constellation, and both ends of the Star Door were controlled by Orion constellation. That was normal because Orion constellation was one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, and was 2 levels higher than Andromeda constellation and was much stronger. Crane's footsteps stopped. Xiao said slowly, "Tang Yi is a unique military leader." Crane saw that Tang Tian was almost drooling and could not bear to watch. "Hey, please pay attention to your image. There's nothing to be ashamed of." Xiao shook his head, a light aura flickering in his eyes. Luckily for the battle tonight, Tang Tian's true strength was revealed. If not, we would definitely be at a disadvantage. It seemed unknowingly he had already reached this stage. Why was it that his memories were filled with unreliable people? Lu Zhongguang returned to his residence, and before entering he saw Xiao and his teacher standing on the wall. Xiao had a mischievous look on his face while his teacher was smiling. To the completely sealed Lupus constellation, the value of the waterway was incomparable. But the words, "Thank you for your patronage," made Lu Zhongguang feel uncomfortable, coming to someone else's territory, and being forced to fork out money to redeem himself. Such a thing was embarrassing. After Lu Zhongguang experienced the initial shock, he quickly calmed down. He had followed his teacher everywhere and had seen many things, so he had the mental fortitude to do so. Although he did not understand what was going on, but if he were to reject such a big gift, then Tang Tian would not be Tang Tian. He said passionately, "Thank you so much, Princess Angelina. Our Lupus constellation is definitely a good friend of Andromeda constellation. The person who was killed has already been investigated. He is a famous expert of Aquila constellation, Qian Kuei Song, ranked 4558 on the Heaven Road list." Xiao's eyes flashed. Tang Yi appeared in the battle with Yi Zhaogu. He led 200 Lupus martial artists to attack, but was blocked by Yi Zhaoji's sword and lost his fighting strength. But today he only brought 40 soldiers and killed Qian Kuei Song. That's an incredible leap. Fuming. Lu Zhongguang was startled. He thought carefully and nodded his head. Xiao is right. Tang Yi's blade was too strong, so strong that we did not even have the courage to resist. He already knew that with such a huge commotion his teacher and Xiao would definitely be alerted. Who knows, maybe his teacher and Xiao were hiding in the dark, preparing to save him. The black-clothed young lady whistled behind her veil and laughed. "What a handsome little brother." Lu Zhongguang's expression became serious and told her everything that happened in detail. "Oh my, I am too inexperienced." Crane was very clear. From that day onwards, the waterway completely belonged to Lupus constellation. Similarly to the current Lupus constellation, Fairy City was practically defenseless. Even when he had the upper hand, he still did not forget to disguise himself as a hooligan, to create a false impression. To be so young, to be so monstrous, truly too powerful. When he said that, Crane's expression changed. After that he kept quiet and looked at Xiao. He knew that Xiao was thinking carefully. His teacher also closed his eyes to rest as though he was thinking about something. Crane grabbed the bag with both hands and appeared in front of Lu Zhongguang. The young man's face had a look of shame. Unparalleled. Unparalleled military general. Lu Zhongguang's eyes opened wide and stuttered. Those 4 words, compared to the battle that happened tonight, had a bigger impact on him. Lu Zhongguang then placed his attention on Crane, and secretly praised in his heart, "What a beautiful young man." Fourthly, Zhongguang just said that the strength of the Lupus army soldiers are all around the 6th level, and their combined attack is perfect, so their assault was very strong and injured a few people. But when Tang Yi charged, we were there, and the power was definitely not the combined attack of 46th level martial artists. Ashio pointed out a finger. Thinking about it carefully, although there were a few battles that shook him to the core, but Crane was still confused about how he got to where he was today. Thirdly, the Lupus army is much stronger than we expected, and we cannot treat them as an ordinary army. Back at the residence, Lu Zhongguang finally relaxed and laughed bitterly. I lost face tonight. Everyone quickly dispersed and the Lupus army cleaned up the scene. Teacher and I have already calculated, although the coordination of the Lupus army is much stronger, but the true power of the soldiers did not change much. That means the power of their blade auras will not change much. But the power of Tang Yi's blade far exceeded the combined attack of 46th level blade auras. Then there is only one possibility. He was definitely scheming. That's right, that is a good thing. Adrian nodded his head. Tell us about the situation tonight. When we went, it was already rather late and we did not see much. That is the only possibility. Ashio said a lot and felt thirsty, so he sat down to drink some water. For them to forcefully occupy the exit of the waterway from a legal point of view, it was not justifiable. If they were to instigate it, it would cause the martial artists of Andromeda Constellation to dislike Lupus Constellation. Chapter 400. Thank you, Master. Tang Yi was overjoyed and could not help but say, Master, we need more Andromeda battle robes. Seeing the happiness on Tang Yi's face, he shook his head and said unhappily, Hey big guy, you've fallen. Only by using a spear to stab the opponent to death can it be called a true battle. Crane was surprised. Tang Tian looked extremely tired, with sparkling saliva at the corner of his mouth. I'll give them all to you. Tang Tian immediately shook his head. The star power's effect was obviously not to increase the power of true power. Tang Yi acted as though he did not hear anything. Crane looked at Tang Tian in shock. This rascal actually leaned against the wall and fell asleep. Wrong. Tang Tian happily sent Ta Dun off, and along with Ta Dun were 300 energy beast corpses. Ta Dun was in a good mood. With the 300 energy beasts, he could shut everyone's mouths. The current Andromeda constellation, with internal and external troubles, was like a volcano. If one was not careful, it would collapse. It was truly special. This is the Andromeda treasure? His father. The mechanical spirit weapon is a brand new mechanical weapon created by 3 Spirit City, because it has a martial spirit. The long-robed young man explained. Interesting. It looked like a classic battle robe. Sai Lei's face was frosty. He sat at the top, listening to the mechanical engineers explaining their plans. 3 Spirit City. The battle a few days ago had caused a huge disturbance in 3 Spirit City. But the population of 3 Spirit City did not decrease, but instead increased. Invisibility. Crane blurted out. This type of mechanism can provide us with a strong defense. It can block rank 8 martial technique attacks. The only weakness is that the consumption of star rocks is very high. Could there be some inside story that no one knew about? Tang Tian was slightly disappointed with the Andromeda battle robe. He did not like the invisibility function. This godlike young lad, how could he use such a wretched method to win? Southern Cross Army style. The old man's eyes flashed with an undetectable light aura. He suddenly noticed another term. Did you just say mechanical spirit weapons? This kind of mechanism can specially break through all kinds of illusions, especially the illusions of water element true power. It is extremely destructive. The Flowing Wind group was infamous, but they were defeated and returned with heavy losses. It would be difficult for 3 Spirit City to remain quiet. The doubts in the long-robed young man's heart intensified. His father, who had always been swift and decisive, actually didn't give any orders this time. Wait a minute. Tang Tian waved his hand and gave them all to Tang Yi. What had this guy been doing these past few days? The old man's outburst was like an illusion. He regained his composure and muttered, Southern Cross Army. Mechanical spirit weapons. Could they have succeeded? The old man's expression relaxed and a rare look of fatigue appeared on his face. He sat on the chair and quickly fell asleep. His father. The long-robed young man did his best to resist this terrifying aura. His heart was filled with doubts. This was the first time he had seen his father lose control like this. Tang Tian cried out in surprise. His expression was strange. This subordinate has created an umbrella-shaped mechanism, called the Nest Umbrella. It uses the number 29 bronze. It is able to float in the air and control the airflow freely. Inside the umbrella frame is the mucus of the all-in beast. After a high-speed machine gun, it can shoot out 60 m. Upon contact with the air, the mucus of the all-in beast will form an extremely sturdy thread. As long as the enemy enters the range of the nest umbrella, the 13 high-speed machine guns will be able to form an impenetrable spider web in the air. Ling Su impatiently urged, "Quickly take it out and let me see them." "Who are they?" "Based on the information we have, they have a close relationship with the Mo family." The long-robed young man tried his best to slow down his tone and make himself seem even calmer. But their mechanical spirit weapons have the obvious style of the Southern Cross Army. Tang Tian slept like a baby. The three of them picked up one each. His own nest was easily invaded by others. Wasn't his name as a mechanical grandmaster in vain? Is that what you think? Mechanical army, that was a place that people yearned for. What made them happy was that the bronze base had started to recruit people. But the layers and layers of strange examinations made the inside even more mysterious. Taking a deep breath, Crane resisted the urge to beat him up. He advised earnestly, "Tang Tian, what you are doing is wrong. Although absolute justice is inflexible, but for something like robbing, it will be like a drug that will continuously corrode your willpower. A righteous soul is the cornerstone for us to achieve great things. Furthermore, we do not lack money." Tang Tian and the other two gathered together curiously. Even Crane could not help but reveal a look of curiosity. He knew about the fairy textiles, but it was the first time he had seen one that was able to nurture it into a treasure. In the previous battle, Sai Lei was unable to provide any help, causing her to be extremely angry. This is a type of mechanical spider created by this subordinate. It is only the size of a gold coin. They are extremely sensitive to even the slightest vibration, including the movement of the air. We can mass-produce them and cover every corner of the base. Anyone who wants to sneak into our base would be delusional. He was a battle maniac who loved to defeat his enemies head-on. He had always disdained and looked down on sneaking up behind his enemies to ambush them from behind. Tang Yi, who was at the side, revealed a look of joy. As a general, how could he not know the value of being invisible? "Yes, father." The long-robed young man replied respectfully, "I have personally witnessed the battle. Although they are still very young, but the embryonic form of the army is already there." But compared to the bustling outside, the interior of the bronze base was extremely strict. He then turned his head and laughed, "Little Crane, you must have a good time collecting money tonight." After a moment, the old man raised his head. His face did not have any strange expression. "I know about it. You can go and do what you need to do." Tang Tian could feel that his martial spirit and the battle robes were able to establish a connection. He tried to communicate with the battle robes. Suddenly, he felt a surge of star power rushing into his body. "I am sure." The old man did not hesitate. Where did they come from? The small Three-Spirit City was suddenly filled to the brim. The place with the most people in Three-Spirit City was the entrance of the bronze base. Countless mechanical martial artists squeezed their way into the place that was hailed as the current #1 mechanical training camp. The man's figure was like a reflection in the water. Slowly he became blurry and disappeared. I know. Tang Tian casually replied. Ling Su raised his nose proudly and went to train. Suddenly his heart moved. The star power of the battle robes flowed along the surface of Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian's body slowly disappeared in front of the two of them. The long-robed young man sensed that something was amiss. He did not reveal it. Instead, he respectfully replied, "Yes, father." The old man was deep in thought in his room. Only when the sky started to darken did he wake up. The old man said, "Go to Three-Spirit City and bring the leader of the bronze base back." Looking at the gradually brightening lights outside the window, a look of determination flashed past his eyes. He pressed a button on his desk. After a while, an ordinary-looking man entered the room. No one had any objections to the tests. Instead, it made everyone scramble for it. All the mechanical martial artists thought that it was definitely a new method created by the bronze base. Who passed the tests and how many tests had already become the hottest topic among the mechanical martial artists in Three-Spirit City. You said it has a martial spirit. The old man's eyes widened. In that instant, the aura that exploded out caused the long-robed young man to choke. These mechanical wolves are extremely agile and fast. The power of their attacks is equivalent to a rank 7 martial technique. After adding the martial spirit to them, they are extremely intelligent. They are definitely not inferior to the real star spirit wolves. Ling Su, as expected, you are a real man. Tang Tian praised. Tang Tian bellowed. He punched out. A faint fist aura was released from his fist. Are you sure? The man looked at him. I only owe you one last thing. If the Lupus army had the ability to become invisible, then their fighting strength would immediately rise to a new level. The Lupus army had the Flaming Steps horses. Their charging abilities were outstanding. If they had the ability to become invisible, then their enemies would definitely not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Tang Tian and Ling Su, who could not wait any longer, had already donned their battle robes. Ling Su had also found the trick to use it. But his face revealed a look of disappointment. He mumbled, boring. Crane carefully inspected the star treasure in his hand. It was truly different from ordinary star treasures. There were obvious traces of handwork. But the dense star power made people not suspect that it was a star treasure. It was light in his hand as though it was weightless. Crane was surprised. What made people even more excited was that this was the first time a mechanical army had achieved victory since the era of the three great armies. In a moment, all the mechanical martial artists and mechanical engineers from the various big constellations swarmed towards Three Spirit City. The old man's question was filled with pressure like his gaze. The battle robe stuck to his body. It tightly wrapped around his body. Tang Tian felt as though he was being enveloped by the dense star power. It was warm and comfortable. Crane's expression froze. The long-robed young man was taken aback. His father was inflexible and stubborn. Anyone would be fearful of him. He was extremely disgusted with any half-hearted actions. Every time he reported to his father, he would receive a clear order. I understand, was something that had never appeared before in his memories. That night, she ordered every mechanical engineer under her to come up with a plan for the mechanism. She wanted to build a real bronze fort. This huge family, under his father's orders, advanced at a high speed. The low and dignified voice resonated in the room. The long-robed young man's heart trembled. Since young, this voice had left an indelible mark in his heart. Even if he had grown up and was in charge of an area, when he heard this voice, his heart would still tremble uncontrollably. Behind the desk, an old man in his 50s, dressed in a military uniform, sat upright on a soft velvet chair. His white hair was meticulously combed, and his gaze was filled with a sense of oppression. Chapter 401. After the battle a few nights ago, they finally realized that this place was not as safe as they thought it was. Madame Sun raised a question. How do we control these star spirit beasts? Finished, he completely ignored everyone and left like a gust of wind. These people were all pulled over by Old Man Fei, and amongst this group of people Old Man Fei still had some prestige. Everyone's eyes turned to look at him. Everyone could not help but reveal a look of surprise. The short and fat lady was Madame Lin. Her standard was rather ordinary. She was usually quiet and did not speak much. Everyone would subconsciously ignore her. It was a perfect ancient defensive position. Sai Lei's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent. All of you go back to your positions. Whoever dares to drop the ball at such a crucial time, humph humph. All right, old Dan. Don't talk about old scores. Anyways, this time whoever dares to run is a coward. A black-faced old man sneered. The first one to deliver himself to us. The Blood Meridian's laboratory was currently an important part of the bronze base. Before the expansion of the mechanical laboratory, their scale had exceeded the mechanical laboratory for a long time. He could see that the inside of the bronze base was heavily guarded. The long-robed young man laughed. We will know soon enough. A middle-aged lady said indifferently, I am researching on the ancient lizard blood meridians. Recently I have separated out a very special poison. It can paralyze a person's nerves. It has a strong penetration ability towards true power. We can place this poison at the crucial location. Madame Lin did not panic because of everyone's attention. She said calmly, in the past my body was not good, but I could not hire anyone. So I was thinking of using Star Spirit Beast to help. After that, I realized that as long as I injected diluted Star Spirit Beast blood meridian into my body, it would feel close to me. But there is still a problem with the communication between both parties. Previously, when I was separating the ancient wolf blood meridians, I realized that the ancient wolf blood meridians were able to sense each other. After that, I realized that as long as both parties absorb the diluted ancient wolf blood meridians, they would be able to successfully communicate. When he flew up the wall, the scene in front of him surprised him. Sai Lei looked at the image in front of him and gritted his teeth. Luckily Big Sis was prepared. Can we use the method of mechanical spirit weapons? The black-faced old man asked. We can change its martial spirit. Everyone gathered together and decided to think of a solution, but they soon began to quarrel. That could only mean that the other party had an extremely deep understanding of the ancient defensive positions. How could such a person not know the flaws and weaknesses of the ancient defensive positions? In the past 5 days, according to the arrangements outside, he had made repeated deductions along a few flaws, and came up with more than 15 possible traps. An ancient defensive formation that was even more accurate than a textbook. It wasn't easy for them to find a place to settle down, so they were quite satisfied. They hadn't seen their boss for hundreds of years. If it were someone else's subordinates, they would definitely be anxious. However, for these bloodline specialists who were engrossed in their research and didn't like worldly affairs, it couldn't be better. Don't bother them if there's nothing important. That was what these people were thinking. Everyone immediately kept quiet out of fear. It was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The underground mechanical laboratory was already in complete chaos. All of the mechanical engineers were extremely excited as though they had been injected with chicken blood. He had absolute confidence in his own strength, but he had never relied solely on his personal strength to charge around recklessly. In his opinion, that kind of reckless behavior would only be courting death. Sai Lei frowned and bellowed, "All of you shut up." The night was extremely suitable for stealth. The dark clouds had covered the moon, and it was pitch black to the point that one could not even see their fingers. Duan Mu was like a shadow, quietly getting closer to the bronze base. He quietly landed on the city wall. Old Man Fei shook his head. Impossible, the martial spirit of a star spirit beast is much more complicated than a mechanical spirit weapon. The biggest meeting room of the Blood Meridian's laboratory was filled with people. Duan Mu looked at the bronze fort from afar. He had already observed it for a full 7 days. He did not make a move immediately. He was a cautious person, and without absolute confidence he would never make a move. Even after doing that, he would regain his composure. He was still as patient as before. That was the opponent's true flaw. He had some suspicions. After looking carefully, he realized that there really were bronze umbrellas floating in the air. There was an astonishing number of them, at least a few hundred of them. Duan Mu was extremely confident, but he was not careless. His light body technique was outstanding and did not alert anyone. His feet did not even touch the walls, and like a lump of air he swept across the air without a sound. He did not notice that in a pile of junk in the corner, a bronze spider the size of a gold coin was trembling slightly. Scared? Bullshit. An old man with hair and beard stood up, his face flushed red. He slammed the table and roared, "I, Old Dan, have never been afraid of anyone. That year, what was that? I forgot his name. He was ranked 3000 plus on the 3 boards. Their temperament was eccentric not because they were stupid but because of their pride. They also understood the stakes." The skinny old man's face revealed a distressed look. "This is also the problem that I have encountered. These 3-star spirit beasts are all in my laboratory cages, and they are completely out of my control." Because he did not find anything out of the ordinary, which made him feel even more strange. Every detail was perfectly restored to the ancient city wall layout. All the professionals who were interested in the ancient city wall, if they saw the space, would definitely sigh in admiration. Everyone knew if this method was successful, it would be an incredible thing. Luckily we are prepared. Just then a short and fat lady in the corner spoke. "Maybe I have a way." Although they did not see eye to eye, but that was just an academic dispute. After quarreling and fighting, everyone enjoyed the atmosphere there. They were currently quarreling intensely. The long-robed young man looked at the report in his hand, and was surprised. Such a large-scale movement of resources was definitely not normal. Especially the amount of bronze, it was shocking. Prepare the feast. Until the 10th day he had to admit the opponent's standard was high, something he had never seen before. After a full 10 days he actually could not find any traces of them disguising themselves. This did not surprise him. After going through a battle, if the opponent's defense was still lax, they would not even need him to take action. As expected, they are walking right into the trap. Umbrella? The interior of the bronze city wall was extremely spacious, but as far as the eye could see, there were many umbrellas floating in the air. Old Man Fei impatiently slammed the table. All of you stop. I called you all here to discuss any good ideas, don't talk nonsense. Whoosh, everyone stood up at the same time and followed behind, wanting to see what was going on. Could it be that they are planning to expand their army? Playboy asked carefully. He was not stupid. His big brother's attention to Three Spirit City had exceeded his expectations. With his understanding of his big brother, there was definitely a reason for him to place such importance on it. Could it be that this matter was so important? They had met an expert. Strong strength, only with a detailed and thorough plan could they be successful. A skinny old man who was picking his feet suddenly raised his head. You want to scare us away with just the flowing wind group? I'm so embarrassed by your words. Even Old Man Fei's face revealed an interested expression. What's the result? But he still did not act blindly without thinking. Such an unusual arrangement could possibly be a trap. Duanmu did not think that there would still be people who would truly use the ancient methods to set up a defense. The battle that happened that night had scared them silly, but what followed after was incomparable anger. The blood meridian specialists that Old Man Fei had recruited were mostly people with good strength, but were not satisfied. Most of them were people with bad tempers and were not liked by others. He knew who his father had sent, the mysterious man by his father's side. He had never seen him before, but he knew that his father had such a strong and mysterious martial artist by his side, and only at the most crucial time would his father send him out. Duanmu was calm and collected, but he was not afraid to be able to make him go out. How could the opponent be weak? Pa, she snapped her fingers. The long-robed young man had some suspicions, but very quickly he did not think about it. With this person going out, very quickly the truth would be revealed. Waiting for the result at this time, there was no need to act blindly without thinking. That's great. The skinny old man slapped his thigh, extremely excited. I will go and try it now. Everyone was shocked. Good stuff. As expected of Madame Sin. The skinny old man's eyes lit up and he stopped picking his feet. I will not hide it anymore. I have been doing research for a while now. The direction of the research is, if the blood meridians are injected into the body of a star spirit beast, can it produce an even stronger star spirit beast? I have already succeeded with 3 types of star spirit beasts, and they are relatively strong. The skinny old man's face revealed a pleased look. Many of the arrangements in the bronze base looked weird in his eyes because they were all too ancient. The ancient constructions naturally had a huge difference from the present, and after so many years, many tactics had undergone huge changes. The reason why these ancient arrangements were ineffective was because generations after generations of continuous research, people had long found their flaws and solutions. The skinny old man's thoughts attracted many people's interest. He chose an important point of the opponent's defense as a breakthrough point, because in that position, it was definitely impossible to set up any traps. On the 15th day he decided to move out. Are they going to start a war? In the ancient defensive formation, his current position was the area where the attacks were the most concentrated. As long as a martial artist had some research on the ancient defensive formations, they would definitely not choose this place as a breakthrough point. Everyone dispersed in an uproar. What's the use of not being able to control it? The old man who slammed the table and roared earlier sneered. The ancient-style base in his eyes was like an unguarded beauty. The situation was strange, because it was the most impossible area to set up a trap. Since the opponent knew and still intentionally did it, there was definitely something fishy. In the 7 days he carefully checked the surroundings of the bronze base and felt that it was strange. He went around for 7 days and became more cautious. It must be some kind of mechanism. Duanmu became even more cautious.